Welcome to today's live stream. I'm gonna be doing something a bit different. It's still like a reaction stream, but unlike the other times where I was talking about like anime or video games, this time it's gonna be about a live action movie. I guess technically an adaptation of anime, but I'm going to be reacting to some videos about Netflix's Death Note. It's a topic that I've been meaning to do a video on for a while, and I was sort of interested in responding to some videos about it, like whether praising it or defending it, because while I agree with all the people that like it's a terrible adaptation, not faithful at all, mostly I just think it kind of fails as a story, so that's why I was really interested in analyzing it, but also seeing like what other people say about it in their videos. I'll need you to show me how to do the chat box sometime like this. Oh, well, it's pretty simple. I'm using Streamlabs. They have a bunch of features for like widgets and stuff. Basically, I just like take the chat box widget, like it gives you a URL which you can put into OBS as like a media source, I think, and that's how you get this chat box. But it also gives you some options to like customize it. So yeah, that'd be worth looking into if you want to do that. It's totally free, and I think you're using OBS also, so that should work. But yeah, the first channel I was thinking this, sorry. The first channel I'm going to be responding to is Mother's Basement. Second time I'm responding to one of their videos because they actually defended the movie from what I know. Like they don't like completely dismiss its issues, but I do know that they're a lot more positive of it than most. So yeah, I was sort of interested in seeing how they'd go about trying to defend it or at least point out positive aspects. So I thought that'd be an interesting one to start with, but I'm also planning on doing some about people like criticizing the movie. I can't believe I was robbed of a Yakuza 6 stream. Yeah, sorry about that. I was planning on doing it originally, but I just figured like it's been taking me a lot longer to prepare for it than I've expected. Like I've been sort of like revisiting like the cutscenes of Yakuza 6, taking notes just to make sure like I have all of my references right, and I just keep noticing like more and more things about that game that I didn't like and just didn't consider before. So yeah, it's gonna take me like way longer than I expected along with my actual like analysis of six. So yeah, that's on hold. Every take from Mother's Basement is stupid. Um, they have a lot of strange takes. I'll give you that. Like I had Rangi on when we reacted to some of his Sword Art Online videos, and I think he made some like okay points, but his yeah, his, the mixed bag. Oh no, I'm talking about story stuff. Like there's like a lot of like contrivances or like character decisions that didn't make sense I just never considered until I was like working on the notes for that video. So yeah, it's not the combat, it's more just like story issues I never considered and I think would like be important to talk about when explaining my issues with that story. I blame Daigo. I mean, it depends on what we're talking about. Like which game? Because he was doing all right in Yakuza 5. Although the way he gets ambushed does make him seem kind of dumb. But yeah, I guess it depends on which game we're talking about with Daigo. But yeah, this stream is not going to be about Yakuza. It's about this wonderful adaptation of Death Note. So. I meant for no Yakuza 6 stream. Oh yeah. That Daigo is the key to all of this. But yeah, I guess we can start the reaction thing.
There's this moment in the new Netflix Death Note movie where L draws a parallel between Light and Icarus, saying,
"You're the one who flew into the sun. I'm just here to make sure you actually burn."
which isn't quite the right mythological allusion to make while talking about either the film's version of Light or the one from the original manga and anime. Light is arrogant, yes, but you'd be hard-pressed to say that his hubris is his undoing in either version of the story. However, I do think that the allusion fits the movie itself to a T.
I mean, that wouldn't be my criticism of that line. It's that just isn't a very good metaphor. Like, I thought that the whole thing about like flying too close to the sun, it's about being like consumed by one's own ambition. But like with L saying that, it almost sounds like he's just waiting for Light to screw himself over rather than what he's actually doing, like making an active attempt to bring him to justice. It's kind of like a weak metaphor. I don't know if I'd say it applies to the story. You even say like it doesn't exactly apply to like either versions of the character.
Quite the right mythological allusion to make while talking about either the film's version of Light or the one from the original manga and anime. Light is arrogant, yes, but you'd be hard pressed to say that his hubris is his undoing in either version of the story. However, I do think that the allusion.
I mean, I remember there being a bit of that in the original story, his hubris like being part of like his what gets him caught in the end. Although I guess it just depends. He's not being too specific, but I'd say that's at least like a part of his storyline. And yeah, I wouldn't say like my issues that doesn't really apply to the this version of light, but that's just not a good metaphor. Oh, you're also saying that it suits it to a T? I'm a bit confused about that.
Fits the movie itself to a T. Death Note is, despite the lashing it's gotten from fans and critics alike, an undeniably ambitious movie. It seeks to please series fans while transforming the manga's original concept of a notebook that kills people into a cautionary romantic coming of age story and a metaphor for American interventionism all at the same time.
Um, okay. Let, let's hear what he how he backs that up, I guess. That's interesting. I never really thought of American interventionalism. Although it's weird you say this like sort of like to appeal to fans. I mean, I guess there is some sort of like surface level similarities maybe that people might like as fan service, but it's also just like I don't really see this like appealing to like fans that much. I don't know about that. I know I know it hasn't appealed to fans. It's like considered like a very bad movie by most people. But yeah, I have no idea what you mean by American interventionalism, but let's see where he goes with that.
Unfortunately, that time is a scant hour and 40 minutes, and it's not nearly enough to accomplish everything the film sets out to do with its narrative. But still, I would much rather see a film adaptation try and fail than fail to try. I have been one of
Um, I don't know. Like I feel like you could make that similar type of argument for The Last Jedi. Like that movie tried to do a lot of things, but the execution is just god awful. So I don't know if like it almost feels like what's the word I'm thinking of? Almost like a this idea that the novelty of a movie is enough to sort of like justify its existence or like or that it's worth appreciation for that alone. I just don't necessarily agree. Oh yeah, Ring. Yeah, I remember saying that like you saying Lulu likes this movie. I mean, I don't hate it. I find a lot of it very funny, but I wouldn't consider it like good by any means. It's really bad.
the most vocal defenders of Death Note ever since the first trailer dropped because despite its apparent deviations from the source material, its slick cinematography, neon-tinged color palette, and generally bold direction gave me the impression of a film born from passionate creative vision. I kind of think it could be good, rather than a soulless studio calculation. That much.
This is an odd thing, given its structure of the movie is very standard American horror film. Yeah, like yeah, it's pretty like similar. Uh, yeah, it's not like that ambitious, really. I'd argue they are playing things safe. Yeah, I don't know if I'd agree that this is like ambitious, really.
should have been obvious from the film's production history. You don't push through a cancellation and multiple studio rejections, insisting on a $50 million budget for an R-rated thriller just to make a quick buck. And now that it's finally streaming to an internet-connected device near you, I can say with confidence that I had the correct impression in that regard. It's clear from every frame, cut, and musical cue in this movie that director Adam Wingard had something to say with this project, and that he was trying his damnedest to say it right. This is not simply an attempt to cash in on brand recognition. The film has significant script problems.
Uh, I do think there is a bit of that with how like similar a lot of the plot points are, or like directly taking like very like similar like scenes and putting them in the movie, like L challenging light on live television. So yeah, I don't know if I'd agree. Like I do think there was an aspect of like what like brand recognition, something to say. What does he have to say? Yeah, that too. Like I don't know, because the whole theme about like justice is like really shallow. Like, get like a couple like surface level lines, and it kind of ties into Light's motivation, but isn't really explored. It's just, yeah, it doesn't really have much to say. I don't agree with that either.
On a macro level, and over-reliance on coincidence and inconsistent plot logic, but individual scenes and character beats are actually written fairly well, and the filmmaking supporting that script is impeccable.
I guess we'll have to see. Like, yeah, I just can't really think of any that are like good, honestly. It's just like really like a lot of the scenes are like bad on their own, but also as a whole, they just like create so many issues for the plot. And to say like the filmmaking is impeccable, like it's okay, I guess. I don't know. Like I don't like some of like the visual choices. They feel like random or like self-indulgent. I don't know. Mindless glazing, yeah, it feels like empty praise. Yeah, exactly. Like, on one hand, we haven't really got into his references yet, so it's hard to say, but yeah, this all just feels like very empty. I don't know.
The editing and camera work is interesting and creative, the acting is mostly solid.
I, uh, I'm just lost for words. Camera work, I mean, it's fine. I don't know. I can't really think of that much, like, particularly, like, interesting things about it. Like, okay, they use like strong neon lights a couple times, but that's otherwise it just looks standard. I don't know. It's serviceable, but I didn't find it impressive. Yeah, yeah, it's fine. To call it impeccable is something else though. Okay, it says like the actors are good. I mean, I don't know. I think Nat Wolf is like pretty bad. Like their scenes were meant to be like he's meant to be like terrified or more emotional, but I just part of it may be the terrible writing, but I just find him like funny. Like the scene where like he confronts or like Ryuk appears and he's just screaming. I find it hilarious. And the Keith Stanfield, he kind of gets it right. Like some of like the similar like mannerisms of L, I guess. He's still like I find him like way too funny in a lot of scenes to take him seriously. I don't know. Oh, hey Burger. There were some things in the camera work that felt entirely random. The biggest offender was that random shot of the train in the intro. Yeah, we did not need that introduction thing of Seattle with the I forgot what it is, those shots that are like sort of like tilted. I forgot what that's called, but yeah, like there's those for like no it's very indulgent is how I would describe it. At least that opening scene and I guess a couple other scenes. Yeah, what's that shot I'm thinking of? The one that's like tilted. Oh, Dutch angle. I think that's what I was thinking of. But yeah, there's like a good amount of those that just almost seem like random, like because it looks cool. I don't know.
And the music is fantastic, though very different from what you'd expect from the anime.
I don't. I mean, the licensed music is like really jarring. Like some of the tracks they choose. Like what was it? Like there's like the scene where like they're falling from like the Ferris wheel. That was just like I don't know. I don't really like the licensed music, but I guess the actual score was fine. Like it's probably like the most like forgettable soundtrack I've yeah, Atticus Ross co-composed the soundtrack for this movie. I found like surprisingly like forgettable. Like I guess it was fine, just nothing special. But I would not call the licensed music amazing. Yeah, yeah, trying to make things look fancy. That there's definitely a bit of that.
However, none of that makes this a good adaptation. While the core of Death Note, the philosophical debate about what truly constitutes justice, does remain intact here, it is
They barely explore it. Like I said, there's like a couple surface level lines and like barely ties into Light's motivation, although it's like very underbaked. Like the source material actually explored this idea in like a decent amount of detail, having these like different perspectives about it. But the movie pays lip service to these ideas. It does not explore them with any depth. Uh, yeah, I guess he's trying to justify this part as like an adaptation. But I think mostly he's trying to say that like the movie has like merit on its own. But yeah, like trying to justify this as like being faithful in any way. That good luck.
dumbed down, and almost everything around it is mangled beyond recognition. Light Turner is not Light Yagami, his father is certainly not Soichiro Yagami, and many other vital characters like Matsuda are nowhere to be found. Elle and Mia Sutton, the film's version of Misa, managed to land pretty close to their original personalities, though the changes to Light make them take on very different roles in the story.
I feel like Mia's just like completely different from Misa. I don't know, like Misa was like a lot more like obsessed with light from what I remember and not quite as like selfish. I don't know. Like I don't remember Misa's character as well. I need to revisit like the original Death Note again, but yeah, I don't feel like they're very similar and like L is like similar in like some surface level ways, like the mannerisms and the he's kind of just an idiot, and the whole thing about him becoming like extremely emotional and making even worse decisions is just like totally at odds with L's character. Like it's especially weird to compare like Mia to Misa, like they're nothing alike, but with even with L, I just don't agree that they're like close enough. Mia comes across as selfish, using light for the power. Misa had her own note and was obsessed with light because of what he was doing. Yeah, there's like totally different dynamics at play. Like, not just because of the difference in light as a character, but like Mia and Misa's characters are just very different. Yeah, like L is similar to like 2017 L in like surface level ways, but he's also like way more incompetent, way more stupid, and like way more emotional. Like it's just so surface level to say like these two versions of the characters are similar.
But only Willem Dafoe's Ryuk feels really accurate to the anime. If you're a fan of the original series and you expect this film to give you the characters and plot you love,
I guess Ryuk was most similar. Yeah, I guess. Although I guess it almost felt like there's a more of an aspect of him like actively messing with light or like almost preying on his downfall. Yeah, there's more of an aspect of like actively messing with him from what I remember, while Ryuk in the anime was like more of like an observer who didn't do that as much. And yeah, like Defoe gives a great performance, obviously. Oh yeah, and he doesn't have Ryuk's goofier aspects. Yeah. He's like the most similar, and he is like the best performance, I think. But yeah, he isn't as much of a casual observer in the movie.
you are going to be sorely disappointed. But meeting it on its own terms, it's not really a bad movie. That doesn't mean
Are you kidding me? Weren't you just talking about how like a lot of like the plot things are like broken or something? Like I feel like it seemed like kind of like scathing of the actual like plot, saying like, oh, that there's some like good moments, but like now you're saying it's not a bad movie though. I mean, it is, but I'm also just kind of confused based on what you were saying before.
It's good necessarily. The hasty pacing and jumbled plot really hurt it, and there are points where it gets stupid with a capital R. But if you have an appreciation for the technical aspects of filmmaking, cinematography, editing, sound design, and effects work, you'll find that a lot of things in this film stand out as excellent. And as
Oh, oh my God, are you kidding me? I excellent and like this movie don't deserve to be in the same sentence. There's nothing about it that's excellent. The best thing I could point to is I guess is like Willem Dafoe's performance. I don't even know if I'd call that excellent, but like everything else is just no. It's a terrible movie even on its own terms. What is good about all that? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll eventually make a point, but hasn't said much no. If you pay attention to anything that's not the story, it's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, all of those like plot holes and out of character moments that's just fan stuff. You gotta look at the filmmaking and like what did it make you feel? That those are what make a movie good. I mean, it's pretty standard for a movie budget of this size, of this time, and in this genre, effects and filmmaking wise. Yeah, like technically it's fine, but to say it's like excellent filmmaking, like how low do your standards have to be?
I found out in my second viewing, the plot of the movie is actually pretty easy to follow once you know where it's going. A lot of seeming
I guess I always knew what was happening. It's just the logic of like how we got here doesn't make any sense. I don't. It's not hard to follow. It's just like everything that happens is really stupid.
of character moments, particularly for Ryuk, actually makes sense if you know what lies everyone is telling, and things that I thought were plot holes the first time through are frequently explained through smaller details and visual storytelling.
Oh boy, so it's actually gonna try and address the plot holes. Let's see how that goes. No, the prom or homecoming scene I not describe as easy to follow. The ending scheme Light has leading up to him going to the Ferris wheel is convoluted. It depends on what we're talking about, like making sense. Like, I generally had an idea of what was going on or like what a character was doing, but it's just like really stupid. Like, that should be fun. Um, I feel like if this is your first experience with Death Note as a story, you'll have questions that the movie can't answer because they didn't think it through. Yep, 100% agree.
This is the last point you can get off this ride before we dive into spoilers, by the way. For example, on my first viewing, I thought it was weird that L knew how to use Mia's Death Note page as soon as he found it. But when Mia used it to kill the FBI agent, she had to specify that the agent pictured each other agent on the case in his mind for her plan to work. So she basically left instructions for L to follow, and he saw Light's page burn up in the trash. So
Does anyone call this a plot hole that L knew how to had an idea of how to use this? Like, I feel like it's pretty obvious how he'd figure that out with the information he has. Like, okay, he already determines that Kira needs a name and a face to kill someone. He has a general idea that the power is like transferable in some way. And he just saw these things writing down like this character dies with this detailed thing. Like I've never seen anyone refer to this as like a plot hole, and I don't know why they would, because like the logic for like this alone, like it makes enough sense. I don't know why you ever thought this was like a plot hole.
So that thing that seemed like it didn't make sense actually did. On that note, and this is a bit more obvious, I initially thought it was weird that the normally lazy Ryuk was so active in keeping Light's game going by pushing him to kill and even killing the FBI agents for him, essentially being the villain of the film. But of course it's revealed that Light just assumed that, and Mia was responsible and was in fact the true villain. Ryuk was just lying to fuck with him, which is very much in line with how he acts in the anime.
Once again, why do you think this is a plot hole? Like, you're actually talking about some of the only parts in the movie that are like remotely intuitive. If this is your example that like, oh, the plot holes in this movie are easily explained, then you've chosen like two of like the worst examples for that. The note is pretty intuitive. If you know the rules, L would already have found out. Yeah, exactly. Like this is like intuitive stuff. I don't know why he ever thought these were plot holes.
Now I'm rooting for this guy.
Just shut the fuck up.
It's a bit hand wavy, but that does explain pretty much every minor inconsistency in his character. And without those inconsistencies, I've gotta say, Willem Dafoe's portrayal of Ryuk is basically perfect, mapping his face to
Um, hmm, hmm. His performance was good, I guess. I don't know. Personally, I prefer like the dub actor, and there's like, but that's hard because there's things with like the way Ryuk is written in like the source material that just aren't given to 2017 Ryuk. But I guess like the actual performance is like, yeah, it's good. I would have liked to see it with like Ryuk from the source material, but yeah, I don't know. No, but Ryu taking credit is def not something you do. This is an adaptation issue more than a plot hole. Yeah, yeah. It sounds like he's saying it's out of character for Ryu based on his characterization in the anime. Yeah, this seems more like an yeah, now that I think of it, this seems more like an adaptation argument when I thought you were trying to like appreciate the movie on its own merits. I don't know.
7-foot tall actor in a costume instead of using pure CGI is a smart choice that gives him a physical presence that he simply didn't have in the Japanese movie. He comes across as intimidating, but he is ultimately the same lazy, bored, sarcastic asshole he was in the anime, albeit serving a slightly different role. The film implies
He's kind of similar, but we've mentioned like all these like differences, so this feels like another kind of surface level justification for why these two characters are similar. The big plot hole that comes to mind for me is the watery thing. Oh yeah, there are multiple plot holes in this movie, that one being one of the most glaring.
that the Death Note is something that is intended to be used by a human all along rather than a Shinigami by itself, and that Ryuk's job is to ferry the note between keepers, then follow their instructions to cause deaths. The Death Note prop tells a bit of this story by itself, with entries scrawled in many handwriting variations and many different languages at the front of the book. This role as an agent of destiny, essentially, is very different from how Shinigami work in the anime. They only kill to steal the lifespans of humans and keep themselves alive, with Ryuk only tossing his note into the human world to see what will happen because he's bored. But in both versions,
I guess, like, yeah, that's how it was in the anime.
the Shinigami still ends up playing the part of a neutral, mildly antagonistic observer, so that doesn't really change much, and I don't think it's a bad change. But
I mean, he's a lot more, he does feel like more antagonistic of Light, but yeah, it's not necessarily a bad change. I just don't. The whole thing with Ryuk, that's like not on my list of like why I think this is a terrible movie. Like I talk about like everything else, and like I guess like Ryuk would be the best thing, but he's still I wouldn't have like that much like substantive praise of him besides like good acting.
the Death Note itself also changes substantially, specifically in terms of how its rules work, and that is, if I had to guess, what's going to piss off anime and manga fans the most.
Oh, is that what we're gonna do with the note light? Rules and warnings?
The original was a tight, logically driven thriller, and the only thing that made it work on that level was the rules that limited what Light could and couldn't do with the book. The movie doesn't really work that way, and even lampshades that with complaints about how many damn rules there are from both Light and Ryuk. It is more concerned with telling a story about its characters than it is with making sure that every last plot detail lines up.
Jesus.
I mean that's a pretty big problem. If like you want to get your characters to a certain place or use this device in a certain way, but just no regard given to the actual logic or internal consistency that justifies those payoffs, like that's how we get movies like The Last Jedi, just wanting to do certain things, just having like no regard for how it lines up or how much sense it makes with previously established information. Like I don't think that's like a good excuse to just like disregard logic. I don't know why he's downplaying how much of a change it is, though. Ryuk choosing Light makes him an active agent. And the fact that he's the one doing the kills, movie Ryuk wants the note used. Yeah. It's kind of weird to downplay it. The entire heart attack rule is absent from the film. That's huge. Well, it's weird because like if you look closely at like one of like the shots of the rules early in the movie, you actually do see that like rule 2 seems to be like the same. Like basically everything we see of like rule 2 is like the same as it is in the anime, but we just it's cut off so we don't see the whole thing. So a good argument can be made that like Rule 2 still exists, yet the movie just isn't consistent with that. Instead of like the default being a heart attack, it's just random. So yeah, that detail creates some issues. Anime Ryuk wanted to see what happens because he himself had no stakes to using it or involvement. He's here for the drama of it. Yeah. You're right about that.
It does follow the rules sometimes. In his final plan, Light carefully words his instructions so that he never puts his own name in the Death Note, for instance. And because the FBI director in
Wait, don't you? I'm pretty sure he does put it in the Death Note, but I don't think that. I'm pretty sure he does put it like while writing down like, and then this happens, and then this happens. I'm pretty sure he does that. Problem is I have to like check the movie, but I don't think that's right. But I also wouldn't say that's like the problem with this plan. I mean, just suddenly being able to like control the rules of physics or like this thing about like conditional rules that maybe he just assumed worked that way. I don't. It feels like an ass pull for the most part. I wouldn't call like very satisfying or like a good logically consistent with the movie. It seems like they oversimplified the rules from the anime slash manga and didn't realize the issues it had caused by doing that. Yeah, I think that's what they did. Like, there's like a couple new rules, but otherwise it's just like simplifying a lot of things. The instructions Light would have had to write were far too extensive for the timer on how long you have. Light basically wrote out the entire ending of the movie. Yeah, it's oh god.
Langley can't physically make it to Seattle to jump off the building. He instead has a heart attack on the stairs. Sometimes the film pays
I don't know why you're saying that. I mean, for one thing, like the whole movie is like very loose about like what it means for death to be physically possible. Like it counts a Ferris wheel getting destroyed by magic as physically possible.
for instance. And because the FBI director in Langley can't physically make it to Seattle to jump off the building, he instead has a heart attack on the stairs. Sometimes the film pays attention to these details.
Okay, what a shot. Maybe that was the reason, but I don't know if we even does the movie say that he couldn't have done this? I mean, unless Mia specified that he would have to jump off the building at this time, I don't see why that would be impossible. That like he just died of a heart attack? I don't know.
The FBI director in Langley can't physically make it.
I don't know where Langley is. I'm guessing not in Seattle or not nearby Seattle. I don't know, 'cause like unless Mia specified that it would have to be at a specific time, I don't see why he wouldn't be mind controlled to go to Seattle, jump off the building. Like it might not be at the same time as the other people, but that wouldn't be like physically impossible based on what we know. Or like this movie is like very loose rules of what physically possible means. Langley is in Virginia. Yeah, okay. That is far, but like with what we've been shown, I don't know why he wouldn't just like take a plane there and kill himself then. That could be the case, but just I don't know if the movie ever specifies that. Like, yeah, I don't know.
To Seattle to jump off the building, he instead has a heart attack on the stairs. Sometimes the film pays attention to these details, but it's really inconsistent about it. Without these rules, Death Note just becomes an absurd supernatural melodrama, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. I think that Death Note as a concept can jump genres without totally destroying itself, but it does weaken the underlying logic of the film to the point that it doesn't really work as a detective story. It might not be as
I mean, yeah, like it's pretty important. Like Even if I agreed with all these things you pointed out being like logically consistent, like most of the movie's logic is just totally broken. I mean, I guess he seems to like somewhat agree that like there's the movie's inconsistent otherwise.
Riddled with plot holes as I thought on my first viewing, but it still has quite a few. Perhaps the most important rule in the anime is that the Death Note can't cause collateral damage. It can't shorten the lifespan of anyone whose name isn't in it. But the whole lifespan mechanic is just conveniently left out of the movie's plot altogether, and with it, that limitation, which means that Light could just write Watari shoots the detective known as L in the face, then kills himself and solve the whole movie in one sentence. Of
Yeah, I could have done that. Would have just yeah, just ended the movie there. But what else did he say about lifespan?
plot holes as I thought on my first viewing, but it still has quite a few. Perhaps the most important rule in the anime is that the Death Note can't cause collateral damage. It can't shorten the lifespan of anyone whose name isn't in it. But the whole lifespan mechanic is just conveniently left out of
Okay, lifespan of anyone whose name isn't in it. Okay. Yeah, the movie does kind of get rid of that thing with collateral damage. It makes the Death Note way too overpowered and makes Light even more stupid for not considering this. The thing with Watery's name, like, either way, even if, like, this is a universe where that's his actual name, or whether it's an alias, that this doesn't make sense, because I don't want to just, like, judge it from the logic of, like, the original source material, but, like, what it gives us, and either this is Watery's name, and he's just been like giving it out to everyone, knowing that Kira needs a name and a face to kill someone. Or this means that aliases do work, and that L is, you can just kill L. We don't get a specific answer, but either interpretation doesn't make sense. But like, it's not the issue, it's like one of many issues with this whole plot point. It's like one of the worst parts of the movie by far. Well, yeah, yeah, I guess like the name and face, that's the main limitation, but I guess like yeah, like collateral damage is another important one just to make sure that like you can't just tell anyone to like kill the person you want to be killed.
the movie's plot altogether, and with it, that limitation, which means that Light could just write Watari shoots the detective known as L in the face, then kills himself and solve the whole movie in one sentence. Of course, he doesn't because well, there wouldn't be a movie if he did, but it could be explained by him simply not thinking of that option, which would actually not be too much of a stretch for his character.
Oh, come on. We're really arguing like he's meant to be stupid. That's why he didn't figure this out. The movie wants him to be like a smart character. Like they do this in like surface level ways that he's good at high school homework and L refers to him as like a bright kid. He's meant to be smart, but the problem is that the movie writes him to be like stupid in every other scene. Like you can't just make this argument that they're meant to be stupid like when the movie like wouldn't agree with that. Like it genuinely comes across as like he was meant to be smart, but the writers didn't realize how stupid they made him just because the writing was that bad. The limitation is also broken when Light has those prisoners write out words in a language they don't know. Oh yeah, that's just even worse. Like you can implant information in literally like anyone's head. Like, you tell someone like draw like a detailed illustration of L's face or whatever. Like it's so bad.
A lot of people are complaining that the movie's version of Light is dumb, which he is, and that is certainly a departure from the anime's brooding sociopathic genius. But the film is at least consistent in characterizing him this way. He doesn't just suddenly become an
It's consistent in making him stupid, but I don't think that was the writer's intention. Especially when there's things that try to like make him seem smart. Like there's also the whole like complicated plan at the end, which is supposed to be as like show him as like this like intelligent mastermind sort of like scheming all of this out to work in his favor. The plan is stupid, but that's like what we're supposed to take away, or like what the writers intended for us to take away. That Light is intelligent. It feels like you're like ignoring like these details of the movie, just saying like, oh, he's meant to be stupid. All of this is fine. Just make a random criminal give you L's name because L gives his face away pretty easily. He could do that also, yeah. Like, well, I guess it depends. We're talking about like before or after that confrontation, but yeah, like L just gives away his face, like kind of as like no excuse not to have already killed him.
Idiot when the plot needs him to. He's a very different character from Light Yagami, but that doesn't make him a badly written character. More specifically, he's shown repeatedly to be book smart and street stupid. When he gets into a fight with a bigger, stronger bully, his clever solution is to point out that the bully, who's been held back and is thus 18, would probably get in more trouble for assaulting a minor, which is true in theory, but in practice just gets him punched for being such a fucking smartass. And when he gets Mia alone in his room...
Okay, you're pointing out why these things are stupid, but then you're just saying that, like, they're all intentional. Just, like, ignoring, like, what information the movie gives you involving how we're supposed to perceive light. The alias thing with Watery means Elle is basically dead at that moment. Yeah.
Light asks if he can kiss her instead of just reading the mood and doing it before she shows him how to do it right, which is a great moment of characterization for the both of them. All this
What? What? I genuinely don't know what to say about that. What are you... You can't tell me Elle somehow hasn't internalized Elle as an identity. Yeah, you could totally make that argument. That if it's about like internalizing your identity, then there's just no excuse for L not to work. Yeah, what is he saying about the light should have forced himself on? That he should have been more... I don't know what...
for assaulting a minor, which is true in theory, but in practice just gets him punched for being such a fucking smartass. And when he gets Mia alone in his room, Light asks if he can kiss her instead of just reading the mood and doing it before she
Is that supposed to make him dumb rather than being respectful? This is strange.
shows him how to do it right, which is a great moment of characterization for the both of them. All this paints a picture of an awkward nerd who's bad with social cues and good with logic, which is consistent with how he acts throughout.
I don't know about that. How many times do I need to say it? Like, just feels like you're ignoring details with this conclusion that he's meant to be stupid.
Light Turner eventually end up acting like his anime counterpart, concocting a brilliant Machiavellian scheme to save his own ass and erase his problems at the end of the film, but he gets there through a character arc that sees his trust in others and naivete slowly stripped from him piece by piece.
What? What? Is this a joke? What arc did Light go on? I don't... Let me play that again.
Consistent with how he his problems at the end of the film, but he gets there through a character arc that sees his trust in others and naivete slowly stripped from him piece by piece.
Do you have a source for this? What are you talking about? You're just making shit up. I don't know what to say. He doesn't go on an arc where these things are stripped away. It kind of is just like a sudden change where he becomes more... This is meant to be a smart plan, but it's actually like really stupid when you consider I guess the logistics. Like I mentioned, it introduces these new aspects of the Death Note that weren't set up. But also, just fundamentally, the idea that like it's to absolve himself of make it so there isn't any suspicion towards him, when all it does is make him like more suspicious, with the whole thing of like he held up someone at a carnival at gunpoint, he evaded police. Are you telling me this is supposed to make him less suspicious? Like, the police didn't even think he was Kira. It was only L who did that, and it seemed like no one really liked L at that point, or at least like James was against him. Even this part where he's like made to seem smarter is stupid, but no, he didn't go in an arc. Like, you're just making this up.
When confronted by L, he tries to make a deal with him, only to be shot down. He treats Mia as a partner, only to be betrayed and nearly killed by her.
I don't... Uh, okay, Elle shoots down the thing about making a deal. I don't know, cause it's a thing, like, we do see, like, a desire for, like, self-preservation or, like, not getting caught or not exposing himself. Whether it's, like, making effort to, like, hide the notebook from his dad, or, he was about to leave the cafe when Elle arrived. I think it's, like, part of it, he was, like, you saw like Ryuk at the entrance, which stopped him. Like, and then he does this stupid thing of like revealing. He says he's Kira without outright saying that he's Kira. Basically, I. This isn't just a thing of like we see him show a desire not to like make like stupid decisions that lead to him getting caught. Yet he also does that like for the sake of drama, like make like dumb decisions.
Her when he doesn't take things as far as she wants him to. It takes all of this to change Light Turner into something resembling Light Yagami. And even then, he's
Oh my god. He does not resemble Light. Like, Light actually made, like, good plans from what I remember that actually serve his goals. Light's plan is, like, genuinely awful. Like, ignoring, like, the contrivances, the rules that aren't established, it's, like, antithetical to his goal of making it so people aren't suspicious of him. This video is really bad so far. I'm not. Wow.
still gives Mia an out if she chooses her love for him over the power of the note, which does kind of break the
But that's stupid. The movie never establishes anything about conditional deaths. Why would he assume this is a thing unless it was like a rule in the note? And if it was a rule in the note, then why didn't it work? Or not even that, just like the movie doesn't establish this like until or if it's even a rule. It's so stupid.
Even then, he still gives Mia an out if she chooses her love for him over the power of the note, which does kind of break the established rules of the notebook again.
There's so many fucking rules.
Yeah, like either way, forcing in a rule that wasn't established, or Light just assumed this for no reason. It could be like literally like it could go either way with like which is meant to be what happens. Light was charismatic, intelligent, and pretty good at reading people, even if he was sometimes was off the mark. Usually that was with Elle, who is hardly a typical person. Yeah, exactly. And oh wait, no, it's even worse because Light outright explains his plan to James, one of the main people who want to get him caught. Like that's not something Light would do, just easily incriminate himself. That's idiotic.
Any human whose name is written in the book is supposed to die, so an if then statement would only result in Mia having a heart attack if the conditions weren't going to be fulfilled. But if you can put that aside, it's a strong character beat. It shows that he's still trying to be good, even as he makes a contingency plan to kill his girlfriend. Anime
I but the contingency plan doesn't make sense. That you can't just ignore the logic, say like, oh, it's a good character thing. It negatively affects Light's character by making him like so stupid or doing things for seemingly no reason or no clear reason.
Light's self-preservation instincts and ruthlessness are largely foisted off onto Mia, which is pretty consistent with who she is in the anime, actually. She's not as intelligent or forward-thinking as Light is, and her impulsiveness ultimately ruins everything for both of them, which is pretty much
I mean, Mia isn't as dumb as Light is in this movie. I mean, she's still a moron. She makes things that basically totally undermine her plan, but she's not as stupid. Like, now it actually does feel like you're trying to appeal to this being faithful, which is just not a hill you want to die on. Like, it's so easy to explain why it's like totally unfaithful in like every way.
exactly how things would have gone down in the anime if Light didn't keep her under his thumb.
Anything, I think you're not crazy enough.
No, what would happen if Misa was a completely different character? It's not just like how much Light keeps her under her thumb. She acts totally different.
All of this has the effect of making Light substantially more sympathetic in the movie than he is in the anime. He doesn't
I wouldn't say so. I think he's just a clown. I don't know what to say. This is like the most like surface level thing of making him sympathetic. Like, he's like overly emotional. He has a dead mother. Like, it's so clearly like they're trying to make him sympathetic, but it's just like really surface level ways.
Kill the FBI agents or cops himself.
And oh wait, no, and like with the thing with how Light in the movie first tries to kill people, or like when he kills Kenny, he immediately goes for decapitation, like a very ruthless choice of death. Like that, we're supposed to believe that like he's like still like sympathetic or has some good in him when he does something just that monstrous. Like that makes this arc you're talking about just seem like even less valid. They try to make this Light Turner the put upon underdog loser nerd kid. I think I know what you mean. Yeah, they're definitely trying to make him those tropes.
In fact, he takes a hardline stance against it, and this is backed up by how the story is told. The first we see of Light, he suffers.
Oh, and also, wait, I forgot. Didn't he and Mia get off to like brutally murdering people? Like, they're like very similar levels of unhinged. I don't know why we're acting just because like Light wasn't as willing to just like murder as she is, that like somehow he's like more sympathetic, has more good in him. Yeah, this argument just doesn't make any sense when you and a lot of these arguments just don't hold any water when you actually think about what happens, because there's just like so many contradictions.
A small injustice at the hands of his principal, and then we learn of a much bigger one in how the man who killed his mother got away. We're immediately primed to see.
I mean, he already knew about this injustice with his mom's killer, like long before the thing with the principal. Like, if you're talking about this like escalation, then you got the order wrong. Also, doesn't Light basically immediately let Mia push him to using the note more? Oh yeah, like he used it to like impress her basically. Yeah, like painting Light as the more like sympathetic one just doesn't make any sense. Like he's like I said, they're very similar levels of unhinged.
Light, he suffers a small injustice at the hands of his principal, and then we learn of a much bigger one in how the man who killed his.
Okay, we learn of a much bigger one. Okay, so not talking about like chronological progression. I just misheard.
Mother got away. We're immediately primed to see where Light Turner is coming from and understand why he kills his first victims.
All I'm trying to say is, you have the chance to stop the type of people who make things hard for everybody. You gotta see the big picture here.
Whereas Light Yagami just starts killing because he's curious to see if he can. A lot of Death Note adaptations.
I mean, I don't know, because then Light also want to like punish a criminal. Like, if I don't think it's that dissimilar. Like, it's out of like curiosity, but also to like try and kill like a bad person. I'd have to rewatch the anime again, but I don't know if that's an accurate comparison or contrast.
Try to fix this in one way or another. For instance, the J drama has Light commit his first murder to save his father from a hostage situation. The film intends for us to relate more to Light Turner's perspective and cheer for him to either get away from using the Death Note or find a way to use it correctly, depending on where our values lie. The discussion of what is just or unjust.
I mean, I guess it's subjective, like how much you care about a character, but I didn't really feel invested in Light or like want him to get better or have like a stronger sense of values. I don't know. I don't think he's like good enough of a character to like care about any of that. It's just like a lot of like surface level traits and contradictions that we get, and even before like the movie tries to like change him.
Is the real heart of what makes Death Note Death Note. And as I hope I'm demonstrating, this film does manage to keep that intact, albeit in a simplified form. The question of whether what Light.
Well, I think the point with Light's first kill is that this is just a silly idea that won't do anything. He also first kills a person in an active hostage situation with the police. Oh, right, I forgot about the hostage. I thought the first guy was like the one like harassing a woman and then gets hit by a truck. I misremembered. But yeah, I feel like even like the anime, like no, the 2017, the idea is that Ryuka's saying like, "Oh, this might be a dream. Why don't you just give it a shot?" Like, and then yeah, I guess it's like a similar level of yeah, it was just like curiosity, not really believing that any of this is real. Yeah, I don't know. Turner, meanwhile, first kills person in his immediate area with horrific conditions because he was a high school bully. Oh yeah, I won't deny it's a lot more petty than Anime Light's first kill, but yeah, I just don't know if it's like an apt comparison, like, or what he's trying to say. Or not like comparison, just what he's trying to argue that Light in the anime was doing. I feel that's a bit off.
Light's doing is right at all, and if so, where he should draw the line in carrying out his goals is central to the film's narrative, and each of the principal characters represents a position on that. Moreover, the film adapts this moral conflict to be more relevant.
Wait, did he just... Wait a minute.
Central to the films in a simplified form. The question of whether what Light's doing is right at all, and if so, where he should draw the line in carrying out his goals, is central to the film's narrative. And
no, the movie pays like lip service to these ideas. This whole thing about like justice that was like explored like very well in the anime, just it's barely touched upon in the movie. Like you get like a couple lines talking about like, oh, sometimes you have to choose between the better of two evils, or that thing with everyone else at James's police station supporting Kira and not being okay with James actually wanting to track him down. And that's only really to explain why James teams up with Elle. Like the movie doesn't take the time to explore these ideas very much.
Each of the principal characters represents a position on that. Moreover, the film adapts this moral conflict to be more relevant to a Western perspective, where Light in the anime
oh, I guess this is where the American interventionism part comes in. Let's see.
Could be taken as representative of Japan's hardline stance on criminals. Light in the movie represents America's attitude toward the world at large. That is, using its immense military power to police the planet and keep the rest of the world in line with its democratic ideals.
What? What? What are you talking? I'm so lost. How does that... I guess there's a sort of like intimidation factor, make it so people commit less crimes, but what this whole thing like trying to tie it to American interventionalism, it's so forced. Like talking about like democratic values. I don't know. This is strange.
This difference in what Kira represents and his country's attitude toward that fundamentally changes his public image. Japanese Kira's worshippers largely support him in secret until toward the end of the series, but American Kira is supported openly by cops and civilians alike pretty much from the very beginning of his killing spree. Light's dad is harassed.
I guess there's a difference there. Light is definitely killing international criminals, probably more than Turner does. Yeah, I don't think it was just Japan.
By his co-workers for trying to stop Kira, and a worshipper even clubs Elle over the head to save Light in a particularly strong scene from the end of the film.
Oh my god, you called that scene strong. No. It's actually like one of the biggest contrivances in the whole thing, that they just happen to come across this guy that's this insane Kira worshipper. Like, if it was literally anyone else, then this wouldn't have been able to happen. But then he immediately accepts the idea that, oh, this boy I don't know is Kira because this rambling madman is saying so. So that he immediately hits him with a piece of wood with zero hesitation. Like, this might be like the worst contrivance of the movie. Like, it is actually awful.
Metaphor is alluded to in some of the film's early kills, the North Korean general and the ISIS leader who blows up his base, and in some of Light's dialogue. When confronted by Elle in the coffee shop, Light brings up the idea that if he doesn't exercise his power, someone potentially worse could take it instead, which is a frequent justification for America's role in geopolitics.
Oh no, oh God, this is such a stretch. I'm just lost for words how he's actually trying to make this point.
Would you rather see China or Russia be the dominant military superpower in the world? Would you rather it be Vladimir Putin running the reconstruction of the Middle East? Those aren't easy questions.
God, it's such a contrived way to force like modern, or just to force like politics into this movie that aren't really there. Except the idea here is Turner's Ryuk would actually take the book and hand it to somebody. Yeah, like yeah.
To answer. And at the end of the film, Light tells his father,
Thought it was simple at first. I was just gonna kill all the bad guys and the good guys would win, but it wasn't like that.
which is an apt description of pretty much every American military intervention since World War II. Vietnam, the Gulf War, the current invasion of the Middle East, you name it. And while this does speak to the ultimate failure of Light's plans, it doesn't necessarily condemn him for trying. It's up to us whether he's morally in the wrong or whether he simply did the right thing the wrong way, which is a debate that we still have about almost every major war that I just mentioned. This gets
Yeah, I don't what do I even say about this? This is such a stretch. I yeah, this is really annoying. This all falls flat because his first kill was to kill some high school jock. Yeah, this is bizarre.
It's really jumbled with the main plot of murderous teen romance and coming of age, but it is still interesting, and again, that does have the benefit of making Light more sympathetic to the audience. In the anime, we either want to see Light be stopped and killed or succeed, with very little middle ground, depending on what we think is just, which means that the anime can't rely on who the audience will root for. It could be either Kira or the detectives trying to stop him. Matsuda fills the role of a neutral party and audience surrogate to give us someone to relate to and someone to question the philosophies of both other parties, but the film doesn't have room for a character like that, which is kind of the biggest problem with everything in this movie, really. It has a genuinely interesting westernized take on the core themes of its source material, strong and well-defined characters, and a lot of material that
You've done like so little to explain like why these characters are good with information that's like actually consistent with what we see in the movie. You're just like ignoring details in order to make it seem so much better than it is. This guy actually thinks the majority of people in the US would be publicly in favor of someone randomly magically murking people. Yeah, like you try to say that that's like believable, more believable because of the US, and we learn like so little that the characterization is either like very like surface level or just outright contradicts itself. Like these are really bad characters.
could make for a great detective story, but none of it is given any room to breathe. Everything I just explained about the military intervention themes is basically all that the movie has time for. The impetus is there to force Light to change and grow, but he doesn't have a lot of time to noticeably and organically develop, so it feels like he changes in big spurts, even if there are a few subtle details that indicate that he's changing more gradually. And while in theory I do
There's no gradual change. Even those things you mentioned, like the deal with Elle or Mia revealing her plan, like he doesn't really change after those. It's more just a sudden thing he does at the end.
like the idea of a Death Note holder being led down a dark path by his dick, and the Genesis parallels that have always been there in the source material are actually strengthened by having Mia as Eve be the one who tempts Light to do evil. That too feels ham-fisted because of how quickly their romance has to develop. L, who has his own interesting arc towards becoming more violent that ends on a very ambiguous note, probably gets the worst of this. I think that Lakeith Stanfield does an incredible job in the role, capturing both L's quirky foibles and his inimitable genius.
Oh my, no. He's not the worst performance, but then there's a lot of things that are just like hilarious, like when it's supposed to be like emotional, like, and like he's not intelligent, like he's like pretty comparable to Light in just terms of being a complete moron. What does he say?
Note probably gets the worst of this. I think that Lakeith Stanfield does an incredible job in the role, capturing both L's quirky foibles and his inimitable genius.
There's no genius to capture. He's a moron.
But because the film moves so quickly and he has to do so much in so little time, his snap deductions end up feeling rash and unjustified to us as an audience.
That's a pretty big problem if we don't understand the actual logic behind what he does. Like, how am I supposed to believe that he's smart? How do I believe he's smart if the logic for why he's smart is complete nonsense?
Because the film moves so quickly and he has to do so much in so little time, his snap deductions end up feeling rash and unjustified to us as an audience. The justification for most of them is there if you look for it, but the film just doesn't have time to properly explain his logic like the anime does. And that aside, there are a few things that just don't add up, like how L is immediately convinced that Kira wants to kill him but can't after his press conference, even though he's never done anything to confirm that Kira would be willing to kill a cop or someone else he sees as a good guy. In the
I No, the problem is that he doesn't know Kira was watching the broadcast. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that too. We don't know why he would want to target law enforcement, but it's just like completely baseless that like he wants to kill him but can't. Because he gets good grades and does people's homework for them. Duh. I'm sorry. I take back everything I said.
anime, L taunting Kira with Lind L. Taylor doesn't just expose where he lives, it also proves definitively that he's willing to kill anyone in his way. Without that confirmation, L is just working on an unjustified hunch.
It also confirms that Kira is currently watching the broadcast, which, like I mentioned, is the other issue. Like, I guess that's like, yeah, you've made a point. He's made an effort to kill L, but fails. That's important. But fundamentally, he doesn't even know if Kira is watching. So it kind of just screws up his whole plan in 2017.
Fortunately, the movie is aware enough of this to have the police ultimately dismiss L as a loony and run him out of town, but with a longer running time, he would.
I, but you're actually trying to argue that he's like smart, but that we just don't really get to fully understand his logic. I mean, that doesn't line up with the police just thinking he's crazy, like, or that this is meant to be a direct effect of that, if that's what you're trying to argue. Like, L is even less of an excuse to be as stupid as he is when he's literally part of a super secret program that trains children from birth to become the world's greatest detectives. He's basically like groomed into being like one of the greatest detectives, yet he's like such a moron throughout the whole movie.
Would have just seemed smart, and that wouldn't have been necessary. Neither would the contrivances that the film uses to move the plot forward, like having L randomly single out Detective Turner to help him, thus bringing him within a few moves of putting Kira in checkmate by sheer accident, or
Well, I don't know, 'cause like was James like a higher ranking member of the police? I don't remember. Although yeah, I guess that does seem kind of convenient that like the first person. Well, actually no, I guess they said they were here for James Turner. So yeah, I guess that is convenient that he's like the perfect person, but I maybe they would have figured that out eventually. I don't know. That does seem convenient now that you point it out. It confirms where Kira is down to a specific broadcast. L also has likely timed it specific to his existing profile, and the broadcast in the anime also confirms Kira's powers. And that Kira isn't omnipotent or anything. He didn't kill L, he killed Lindell Taylor. Yeah, his plan in the anime works on multiple levels. It's a good plan, but with Light, it's with 2017 L, it's just nonsense. He doesn't have nearly enough information or nearly enough tactics that he uses to confirm like any of this information.
letting Light simply use Watari to get to L, even though Watari is obviously supposed to be a pseudonym, and that whole plan shouldn't work at all. As I said earlier,
The fact that they were already searching for James is convenient, but I could believe that maybe after seeing what the other cops feel, maybe they'd be more inclined to work with him who actually wants to stop Kira. I guess I'd say it's more of a thing that it's convenience that he dropped Watery's name, unless that's also public knowledge, because that might be how the Light knew his name, and that wasn't public knowledge. The movie doesn't confirm this, so I don't know.
earlier, this film does put most of the pieces there for the story to mostly make sense on a second viewing, but you really shouldn't have to watch a movie twice and pay careful attention to the cinematography to
What have you talked about that has to do with cinematography? You're talking about like writing. What is this supposed to mean? Like what visual storytelling have you even talked about up until now? And also, isn't thing like there's so many plot holes and inconsistencies that you just completely ignored, saying like, oh, a lot of the movie makes sense on a second viewing. That's you've done a bad job at proving your position that this movie actually makes some amount of sense.
properly understand it, especially not something that's supposed to be a fun popcorn flick.
He said the cinematography good. Yeah, but it doesn't really have to do anything with like plot holes or what he's talked about. Yeah.
I'm willing to accept that things needed to play out in an overly convenient manner for the sake of keeping the plot moving forward, but I really wish that I didn't have to forgive bad pacing to enjoy the genuinely great things this film has to offer. Simply put, I
You haven't really proved that anything about this movie is great.
think Death Note would have been a lot better off as a 3 or 4 episode Netflix miniseries rather than a feature-length movie. If Light had been
I don't know. It's just it's so badly written that even if they had more time, I don't think it would be good. If the same writer was working on it, I don't think that would be the case.
given an entire
Conveniences aren't bad pacing also. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's a weird. I guess that was a mistake, but that's a weird thing to say.
put, I think Death Note would have been a lot better off as a 3 or 4 episode Netflix miniseries rather than a feature-length movie. If Light had been given an entire 50-minute episode to get to know Mia, fall in love with her, and start serial killing with her all while L followed their trail in cutaways, I think it would have allowed the audience to get much more invested in both stories. And every second that they can draw out the cat and
I mean, maybe if there wasn't bad writing, I don't know, just making it longer would necessarily mean that's better. It depends on what's being used with that time. Like, even with like how short this movie is, they could have done so much better. Like, this is actually like bottom tier in terms of writing.
mouse game between the two of them would add to the logical, methodical feeling that people love the anime for. And if we had more time to see the impact that Kira is having on the world, maybe with a few more kills or some cutaways to the lives of Kira worshippers, that would have given the story room to explore its morally ambiguous themes in more depth. Plus, it would have given us more of the Final Destination-esque Rube Goldberg kills, which are one of the few things that I think basically everyone can agree are an improvement over the original. While Light's ability to
Who agrees that this is an improvement? I don't. It's not necessarily like a bad thing that they made it this way, but strictly an improvement? I don't know about that.
induce sudden heart attacks is certainly terrifying, and the way he uses it makes a lot of sense. It's vastly more entertaining to watch a waiter pratfall into a guy and
You find it more entertaining, so it's better? That's not very good logic.
accidentally impale him on his fork, or watch a truck crash and have its ladder decapitate someone, than it is to just watch those people fall over. But it's not just the kills and action beats that are entertaining to watch, although the heavy use of practical effects and the fact that the actors do their own stunts most of the time does really enhance the excitement of these moments. The whole film
Are you actually praising the chase scene? Come on, come on. It's so goofy. I don't know. The Rube Goldberg kills are nonsense. I mean, I don't really know how to feel about them. I mean, if the movie wants just to do like a Final Destination sort of thing for like default kills, then fine, I guess. But then again, like I said, we do get a brief shot of the rules that seems to imply that it has the same rule about the default method being a heart attack. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with this. I don't hate it on its own, but saying that like it's a strict improvement, that I don't agree.
is shot and edited in a very inventive and energetic manner. Adam Wingard clearly isn't the kind of director to be satisfied with simple shot-reverse-shot conversations and conventional action framing, and it seems like he spent production constantly searching for creative and unique perspectives on whatever is happening.
No, the cinematography is like pretty basic for the most part. Like got like excessive Dutch angles, like a lot of like scenes with like heavy neon lighting, but it's not very creative cinematography. Also, the point of the heart attacks is to hide the other kills Light does. He doesn't want to be credited to Kira. Yeah, that too. Like yeah, that definitely serves a purpose in the original. But if they want to make that change, then that's fine. It's just saying that's like strictly an improvement and moving on. And no, not even that. Saying like it's an improvement because I'm more entertained by it. Just a bad argument. And I agree with you, Berger. Adam Wingard isn't a good director. Say it again, just like not really much inventive cinematography like you're trying to make it seem.
Sometimes this can feel like a bit of overkill. The film's frequent twisting Dutch angles, while they are used appropriately to show an imbalance in the lives of the characters, can be a bit much. But more often than not, the film manages to find angles that really enhance each scene. A great early example of this is Light's first dinner with his father. The awkward silence as the train passes by their house both creates tension and tells us about their family situation. Living next to train tracks means that they're not exactly well off, and the shot of the family photo with the mom in it juxtaposed against the dinner scene where she's
Them being not well off, that doesn't really matter. It's more so the thing with like killing his mom being dead, but we don't even need that because they go on this explicit monologue about how he killed my mom. From what I've seen of Adam Wingard, all of his movies do the same thing this does, which he adds fancy cinematography for the sake of doing it. Yeah, it doesn't feel like much thought went into any of it.
conspicuously missing tells us that some of this tension is a result of her death. The film does such a great job of conveying this information that I'm almost convinced that the earlier exposition dump by the principal about Light's dead mom was something added at the studio's request.
I could believe that some of the exposition was like forced in, but I don't know. Like this is like what you're talking about is like very like basic visual storytelling. It only really applies to one scene. Some of the information we get just doesn't matter to the plot.
The close shots that frame Light and his father feel uncomfortable, and the camera is zoomed in on them to bring the background forward, making the scene feel claustrophobic when in fact the set is quite large. All of this
Are you kidding me? Like this literally just looks like shot reverse shot. You're saying that like, oh, Adam Wingard doesn't do that. He's better director. And not like saying like shot reverse shot is a bad thing, but this is literally like just looking at this clip, it literally looks like that. You're trying to make it seem like it's something so much more artistically inspired.
puts you firmly in Light's shoes, feeling suffocated, like he's trapped at this dinner in particular and in his crappy life in general. We only
It's not really suffocating. Like it's kind of a normal, like it's relatively close in their faces, but it isn't like claustrophobic.
pull back when he removes himself from the table and decides to use the Death Note, symbolized by picking up the apple, freeing himself in the process.
Are you this all just feels like reaching, really. I don't know. Just like really like basic cinematography choices. You're trying to make seem like really like profound or artistic.
This scene is just one example of the great filmmaking in this movie. I could point to pretty much any moment in the film and talk at length about composition, editing, and the other technical achievements that enhance it. I mean, I could
Okay, so you're just the one example you add is really surface level and you're just not going to explain all the other ones. Great.
make a whole video simply praising the way that they brought Ryuk to life with a combination of practical costuming and CGI.
That's different from cinematography. What you're just praising. I don't.
I'm not going to do that here, but I hope I've said enough to prove my point. That this film is incredibly well put together on a technical level. Whether you like the style of filmmaking will come down to taste, but you can't deny that this film has style, and that style has a purpose behind it. Death Note.
I mean, you haven't really proved it, so I'm just gonna stand by that, like, a lot of these cinematography choices are, like, basic or superfluous. He even pointed out, like, the excessive Dutch angles, and the only unique shots are, like, forcing, like, neon lighting, I guess, which doesn't really add much.
As a film and an adaptation is rife with problems. Problems that I fully expect will be total deal breakers for most of its potential audience, especially fans of the original anime. But unlike almost every other feature film anime adaptation we've seen so far, it is not just a soulless corporate attempt at cashing in on name brand recognition. It is abundantly clear that something in the core concept of Death Note really spoke to Adam Wingard, and that he
Once again, this feels like a similar thing what people argue about TLJ, like, oh, it's a director's unique personal artistic thing. Like they break away from the corporate slop to do like a truly to put their unique artistic vision on screen. Like maybe it's more no, it isn't even like unique. Like we mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a typical high school rom-com slash horror sort of thing. Like it has a lot of like very common tropes in these sort of genres, and it's not it makes this like unique story a lot more conventional. But even if I were to agree with you, that doesn't make it good. Like something can be like more of a unique personal vision than like other movies in its genre and still be terrible. I observed a theme, therefore it's not corpo slop. Yeah, exactly. They said the greatest teacher failure is, so The Last Jedi is a profound masterpiece, honestly.
wanted to bring his vision for the property to the big screen. Whether or not you think that his vision is valid or that he succeeded is ultimately up to you, but if you come to this movie with an open mind and a willingness to watch it twice maybe, there are some of you who will really
I've seen it like 2 or 3 times, and it only gets worse the more it only gets worse the more time I spend watching it or thinking about it. It is a very broken movie, and you've just barely addressed its issues, or just done like a bad job with the ones you have addressed. Adam Wingard at one point argued with people on Twitter criticizing changes in his movie. He adamantly defended basically all the changes he made and told fans to get over it. So that whole point from him is pretty funny considering that. Yeah.
enjoy it. I'm torn between giving Death Note a bronze medal or black medal recommendation because I
God, he actually recommends this. Okay.
think that you can learn from its failures and enjoy its successes in almost equal measure. But
I think we can learn from its failures, just like how not to write a script. I don't think there's anything positive to learn from it, though.
I do ultimately recommend it. It is an interesting, complicated, and technically impressive film, which is a hell of a lot more than I can say for its anime adaptation contemporaries. Also, take this from a guy who's an expert in credit
I...
sequences. It has one of the best ending credits in movie history. I don't know who decided to set the final moments of this film to Air Supply's Power of Love, but they deserve a goddamn raise. And weird.
Are you actually ignoring that it plays with a freaking blooper sequence at the end of this like dramatic story? Just watching these bloopers, that's so like that's just like completely tonally jarring. It's something you'd see in a comedy, yet it's in what's supposed to be this dramatic movie. Yeah, this is stupid.
That's probably going to be the most controversial thing that I've said in this entire review.
The Power of Love by Air Supply. This is a Death Note movie, motherfucker, not The Notebook.
At any rate,
I mean, yeah, it's not faithful to the music in the anime, but like, it's just a bad movie.
I'd love to hear what you guys think of the movie in the comments below. I'm sure a lot of people have already gone down there to tell me how wrong I am without actually bothering to listen to all of my points, so if you've made it this far, let me know by including the secret key phrase chinchilla in your comment. While you're down there, if you like what I do on this channel,
What? I don't get the chinchilla joke, but whatever.
and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and go to patreon.com/mothersbasement.
Okay, that was surprisingly worthless. I don't know what I was expecting from a video defending this terrible movie, but yeah, that was pretty worthless. That was such a bad video. Probably the worst Mother's Basement video I've seen. Like, at least like the SAO videos I saw were just kind of a mixed bag. This one was just pretty terrible all around. Like, even like his criticisms, there's like so much he got wrong. I guess we can move on to another video. I've got a playlist of Death Note videos I found. One I'm interested in is one from a channel called Cosmonaut Variety Hour. I think I know Rangi and Berger are familiar with it. Yeah, it's a not a very good channel. They make a lot of strange points, but they also did a video talking about why Death Note 2017 sucks. I haven't seen this one in a while, but I'm interested in it just because, like, even if I feel like I agree that the movie sucks, that I think it's almost gonna be like a coin toss whether they actually make like good points or they make any accurate points about it or not. Like, this one, honestly, I'm not expecting it to be very good, but I thought it might make for an interesting reaction. Yeah, I guess we can get started with Cosmonaut Variety Hours video. See how it goes.
Yeah, it's really bad. I know most people expected it to be bad. All anime movies are bad. All anime movies will be bad for the rest of recorded history. Guess what, guys? I liked this movie because it's animated. If you take that away...
Yeah, there's been like a couple like live action anime adaptations that were decent or good, but yeah, I guess it's not too common.
I won't like it as much. I don't understand why they don't get it. Anyway, I watched this movie knowing that I was probably going to get mad, but holy shit, it is so incompetent. I was surprised at how messy and inconsistent a movie can be. It's been a while.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. I'm just curious whether the points you make are going to be right or not.
Since I got this upset. Now, originally I was going to approach this video as a review of the movie for people who haven't watched the anime or read the manga. I was going to see if this movie worked as a standalone experience. Spoilers, it doesn't. So then I realized that ignoring the original series is impossible in this case. The movie literally takes elements from the original series and just makes them worse. So if the movie's going to be that awful, then yeah, I'm going to compare them. Now, I'm still not going to rely on comparisons between the two, but there are some parts where I am not going to be able to help myself. I'm going to try my best to explain why this movie sucks all on its own.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean, although from what I know, Cosmonaut does have a problem with being consistent when it comes to comparing stuff. Like, I guess adaptation arguments, like sometimes is like separates it, but sometimes he's like, but if it's so much better, I can't separate it. Yeah, let's see how he does with this video.
Now you guys know that I like to start off my rants by talking about the stuff that I liked. I like to give everything the benefit of the doubt. So what did I like in this movie? Not really a lot of things. I like this one scene right here.
Now I'm rooting for this guy.
You just shut the fuck up.
That was probably the only time that the movie intentionally made me laugh. I was still laughing, though, believe me, but not because it wanted me to.
Are you kidding me?
You put my name in the book. I got mad at him. You said you loved me. I thought you would take it.
What else?
I mean, yeah, that's fair. The movie is very funny, but it's almost never on purpose.
Did I like? I like that it wasn't 2 hours. Alright, so let's go to the stuff that I didn't like. Now, when you start this movie, you might originally think, okay, so this isn't really that bad. It's not very good, but it's not, like, offensive either. It's not awful. But then you get to the halfway point of this film, and shit just gets crazy.
I think it was already like pretty bad, just like the really weak characterization of Light and L. There's already like a lot of like inconsistencies and things that don't make sense. Like I'd say that's like bad. Basically, once like the subplot starts with mind controlling Watery, that's where the movie becomes like really terrible.
So let's start with the first half of the movie. The problem with this section is that the pacing is way off. At the 2-minute mark, Light has the death note. At 8 minutes in, he meets Ryuk. A short while later, he kills his first person, and then shortly after that, he gets a girlfriend. This shit speeds up way too fast. I understand that they have to cram all this content into this movie within
I mean, I guess, yeah, it's fast. That might explain some of the issues, but my problem is just that's just really badly written.
an hour and 40 minutes. But with the writing so rushed, you never get time to actually learn anything about Ryuk, Mia, or even Light. We've met all the core characters at this point, but we don't really know anything about them. There's some brief
With Mia, yeah, we don't really know much about her. Her motivation is pretty flat. I guess we learned slightly more about Light, but it's like kind of surface level. Like, I guess, we do learn some stuff. It's just largely surface level.
moments where we see Ryuk, Light, and Mia all in the same scene, and it starts to get kind of interesting. If we had more time to flesh out these characters, this movie wouldn't be nearly as bad. I'm not saying make the movie longer though, don't do that. Please don't make this movie 2 hours. I'm saying make this a show. Spend more time fleshing out the relationship between these two characters. Spend some time.
I don't know, like once again, like the writing is so bad, I don't know, just make it longer that it'll necessarily be an improvement. It depends on what they do with it, but if it's the same writer, I doubt that it would be any good.
Time making your main character likable and relatable in some way. You spend this whole movie not really knowing anybody that well, and you hate everybody just about equally. So Light has the death note.
I guess I could agree we don't know the characters that well. Like I said, a lot of like surface level things, but nothing too substantive.
He has a girlfriend, he has a demon following him, so now he's like a super murderer, and he decides to come up with a name for himself. Now in the original series, Kira was a name given to Light by his followers, kind of a cult status. In this movie, his reasoning for picking this name is this.
It also sort of means killer in Japanese, so if they're gonna be looking for him, it's gonna be on the wrong continent.
That's really dumb. This is the first point in the movie when you're gonna realize that the logic of this film doesn't really make a lot of sense. That is a really, really dumb idea. But here's the thing, guys. His dumb idea actually works. The cops actually think he's fucking Japanese. When L first gets introduced, he's like, hey guys, guess what? I'm super smart, and I can...
You didn't mention, I guess, like the other dumb thing I would mention is that he intentionally chooses like a name that is a translation of his own name, or at least that he thinks is a translation of his own name, but I'm pretty sure that's inaccurate from what I know. Like, it doesn't mean light in Russian or Celtic. Like, I don't know where the movie got that translation. But, to make people think he's Japanese. On one hand, he does have a bunch of prisoners write, like, perfect Japanese, which is another thing, like inserting information into victims' heads. That's another problem. There's like other things I'd point to for why this is dumb, rather than trying to make people think he's Japanese.
Find Kira because guess what? I know a secret. Kira isn't really Japanese.
The FBI thinks the killer is operating out of Japan.
Because of the name, Kira.
But the name...
Oh wait, it's because of his name, so they actually... That alone be enough for police to assume that he's Japanese, especially when there apparently it translates to other things in other languages? It's... Yeah, I guess, yeah, that part's dumb. That wouldn't be my main issue with any of this, though.
...is an intentional misdirection.
Hi, I'm Captain Obvious.
That's what you figured out? That's the first thing you're gonna reveal to us? That doesn't make you...
Yeah, he isn't going too much into detail, so it's hard to say if this criticism is accurate or not. Like, I agree that this plot point is dumb, but I don't know if it's for this reason that you're giving.
You look very smart. That makes you look even dumber than Light. And that's saying a lot. Also, in case you didn't know, in the original series, L likes to eat sweets. He's kind of like a man-child, and it's just like a cute character quirk. But in this movie, they decided to give him a reason for why he eats fucking candy.
The insulin spike from the candies will focus your mind for final consideration. When it fades you asleep for 1 hour.
What the fuck? L doesn't need a reason to eat sweets. He doesn't need one. They don't...
Yeah, it's kind of stupid. The reason for, like, a character quirk like that? It's a strange choice.
Don't explain why Ryuk likes apples. That's something that the original series does. Here's the thing. Ryuk liking apples is weird enough to warrant explanation. Plus, not only is this explanation unnecessary, it also makes no sense. Sweets can't keep you awake for 48 hours. The movie is just starting to not make sense, but it's...
Yeah, I'd point to that, like, how it doesn't make sense that would, like, give him energy, focus his mind. I say that's more of an issue than simply wanting to give, like, a character quirk an explanation.
It's gonna get way worse later on, believe me. I'd also like to point out that while this movie isn't shot poorly, it does have some noticeable moments of bad editing.
Assistant Director Pearl is dead. Heart attack just now.
We need to contact every FBI agent on their team.
Uh-huh, bye.
It's not just seen in the cuts or...
Was that bad editing? I mean, Elle reacts, like, very quickly, but also, I guess that isn't the only time where he reacts to something really fast. Like, if we're also thinking about, I guess, like, rushing to get the phone when he gets the news about Watery's death, I mean, it's slightly awkward. I don't know, this is, like, blatantly bad editing. You're not really explaining this.
For the audio mixing, it feels like this movie is straight up missing scenes. Like, I swear that there are a lot of things that would have been explained a lot better, but they probably got cut for some reason. There's a lot of indications of this. For instance, Ryuk says that he's disappointed in Light and he advised him earlier to get rid of the Death Note.
Wait, cut scenes?
The scene in the cuts or the audio mixing, it feels like this movie is straight up missing scenes.
FBI agent on their team.
Uh-huh, bye.
It's not just seen in the cuts or the audio mixing, it feels like this movie...
Okay, I guess he's talking about a different thing, like feels like the movie's missing scenes.
Is straight up missing scenes. Like, I swear that there are a lot of things that would have been explained a lot better, but they probably got cut for some reason. There's a lot of indications of this. For instance, Ryuk says that he's disappointed in Light and he advised him earlier to get rid of the Death Note.
I asked politely, but you didn't hear me. Let the note go. Look at the strife it's causing you and your little girlfriend.
But he never actually did that. He said it was an option for Light to get rid of the Death Note, but he never suggested that Light actually do it.
Oh yeah, I don't think he actually ever does say that, like he told him to let the note go. Yeah, I don't think he ever says that, huh? That's weird.
In fact, he did the opposite. He coerced Light into using the Death Note. Now he says that he wanted Light to give it up. That's kind of weird. You never said that. Another time is in...
Yeah, I don't think they explained that. That is weird. Or no, I don't think Ryuk ever actually says this line that he's referring to.
The scene when L and Light meet for the first time.
Oh, you're the guy. You're L.
Well, that's weird. How would you know his name is L? Why isn't L more surprised that Light knows his name right away? So basically what I'm saying is if you're actually paying attention when you watch that...
Didn't he make the alias L, like, wasn't that like public knowledge? Oh yeah, like, if you look at the news broadcast, it says his alias, like, press conference held by Special Unit Task Force L, leader of. So yeah, it says L on the news broadcast. Like, it doesn't outright say it, but it's shown. Or like maybe he outright says it at one point, but like the point is that they show it. It's not implausible that Kira would know about his alias. There's also the possibility that James would have maybe mentioned it. We don't get any indication that like the alias is being kept secret, and like it's being shown on TV, so I don't think that's something you would be suspicious about.
This movie, you just get punished. Also, real quick, I'd like to talk about what's happening in this scene. First of all, a majority of the original series consists of Elle and Light playing an intricate cat and mouse chase. When Elle first confronts Light, he does it by being friendly to him. He even invites him to help in the investigation to find Kira because he thinks it's more important to have him close to him. He says that, yeah, he's like 5% sure that Light is Kira, but he isn't aggressive about it because that's not how you form an investigation. Even when he says directly that Light is a suspect, he lies to him and he says he's only 1% sure, despite him having established to the audience that it's actually around 5%. He's subtle in his approach. Every line shared between the two are part of their plots against each other.
It's been a while, but at one time I was actually the British junior champion.
If I ask him if he's British, would he think I'm trying to find out more about him because I'm Kira?
So how does the movie treat their first interaction? Elle confronts Light in a restaurant and he straight up just says, "I know you're Kira. I'm 100% sure." Then they start yelling at each other. This is not how you interrogate somebody.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's not very good. Just saying, like, I know you're Kira, then just hope he admits to it. But because Light is stupid, he basically does, despite Elle admitting that he doesn't have anything on him.
This man is straight up foolish. But just as foolish is the fact that Light doesn't even hide that he's Kira. The movie wants you to believe that Light is smart. But the second he's confronted, he starts cracking under pressure. So who's dumber in this scene?
I agree that like the movie portrays him as smart or that the movie thinks he's smart despite not actually portraying him as smart. But I don't know if this is like cracking under pressure rather than just being like a really stupid, unnecessary thing to do.
I guess everybody's dumb. That's cool. Great. So anyway, Light just leaves the restaurant because why wouldn't you? And he finds Mia is in front of his house in the rain, wanting to apologize for wanting to kill his dad in an earlier scene. Yeah, she wanted to kill his dad. She wants to murder everybody, but it's never really explained why, so we're not gonna worry about it. And then she said,
that is pretty underbaked. Like, he isn't going into too much detail, but he is right about some things. So far, I already think this is better than Mother's Basement's video.
As this.
I'm a fucking cheerleader, Light.
This was honestly one of the most shocking moments in the film for me, because I forgot that she was a cheerleader. I'm not bothered by her because she's around all the time. I'm honestly more bothered because I don't know her. Why is she an edgy murderer? Why is she so evil? She wants to kill Light's dad at the drop of a hat. Oh, she likes violent movies. Okay, she likes violent movies.
I guess the thing with murdering Light's dad, there's at least more of a thing of like self-preservation. But I do agree, it isn't explained why she's just a crazy murderer.
Movies, whatever. So do I. So do a lot of people who aren't murderers. This is the only development or background we get on this person. She gets more screen time than Ryuk. Ryuk's not even in the
Wait,
fucking
what did you
movie.
say?
A lot of people who aren't murderers. This is
I mean, that isn't the only thing. They also say that, like she lacked a sense of purpose until she met Light. That's like a single line. But I guess that's also meant to partially explain her motivations. But yeah, I agree. Like, you barely get anything to understand her.
This is the only development or background we get on this person. She gets more screen time than Ryuk. Ryuk's not even in the fucking movie most of the time. Also, I should bring up that Light shows her the Death Note the second he starts talking to her. Are you truly the dumbest son of a bitch in the world? In the original series, Light builds
I mean, yeah, he's Light Turner.
this booby-trapped drawer in his desk that will probably set his whole room on fire if anybody tries to jimmy it open and find the Death Note. In this movie, Light shows it off to the first girl that he meets. He even leaves it around to get stolen. Now remember, this is the character that they want us to think is super, super smart. So all of this stuff is bad, but it's not that bad. But then things take a huge turn when Light decides to brainwash Elle's manservant Watari. This is where the movie completely loses any structure or consistency that it might have possessed in the first place. So Light decides
I know it's already really broken, but I guess I agree that this was sort of like where it went further downhill.
To use the Death Note to brainwash Watari into getting L's real name from this database, or whatever. So you can use the Death Note to manipulate somebody for 48 hours before they die. But Light doesn't want Watari to die for some reason, so he decides to burn Watari's page right after he gets the information that he wants. Apparently, one of the rules in this movie is that you can burn someone's page and you'll stop them from dying. Okay, first of all, the rule about burning the page makes no fucking sense. Ryuk says you only get to save one person by doing this. So what happens if you burn a page with a bunch of names on it? Y'all have been writing way more than one name on these fucking pages. That rule makes no sense, Ryuk.
There's so many fucking rules.
I guess what we're supposed to believe is that the first name that gets burnt is the one that gets destroyed. The movie doesn't properly explain that. Although I don't know if it's that big an issue. Almost feels like a nitpick when like the scene is like this whole plot point is so broken. Just the thing with Watari's alias and how the Death Note works, it almost doesn't feel like something worth taking the time to point out. I don't know.
Secondly, how the fuck did Light mind control Watari without knowing his full name? The film establishes that you need the full name of a person that you're going to kill. He just writes down Watari. You're telling me that his name was just Watari? Like he has one name?
What name? Who are you, Seal?
Okay, so he has one name. Fucking whatever. Now that implies that L is the biggest fucking idiot in the whole world. He hides his identity, he doesn't use his real name, but he lets his fucking adoptive father walk around with his name and face known by everybody. He's literally handing his name to people.
It does make L seem very negligent, but I'd more say that like it makes Watery seem stupid if he's actually just giving his name away, knowing that's what Kira needs to kill him.
And he says he's pretty sure that Light is Kira, so he can assume that Kira can get information from the police because Light's dad has met Watari. Light could easily get the name and face of Watari. So when Watari goes missing, and you realize that this wasn't L's plan at all, he starts going fucking crazy.
Wait, what were you saying?
And
This is
Kira's
Light's
father
L's
walk around
plan?
with his name and that L is the biggest fucking idiot in the whole world. He hides his identity, he doesn't use his real name, but he lets his fucking adoptive father walk around with his name and face known by everybody. He's literally handing his name to people. And he says he's pretty sure that Light is Kira, so he can assume that Kira can get information from the police because Light's dad has met Watari. Light could easily get the name and face of Watari. So when Watari goes missing, and you realize that this wasn't L's plan at all, he starts going fuck.
Not sure what point he's making. I guess that there would be a clear reason for why Light would know about Watery's name because James was his father, maybe?
Watari. Light could easily get the name and face of Watari. So when Watari goes missing, and you realize that this wasn't L's plan at all.
Wasn't L's plan. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of this. Like, kind of just confusingly worded.
He starts going fucking crazy.
You have crossed the line. Forced me to do the same, and I assure you, you will not survive. Try not again.
He goes absolutely fucking insane.
Tear this place apart! Tear it apart!
It is so inconsistent when considering how he's been acting up until this point. Again, if you're ignoring the original series and you're just going off the logic that this movie has established, you'll see just how many inconsistencies exist.
Went past that pretty quickly, but yeah, I mean, I guess the argument is that he's emotional about Watery, but then his affection for him hasn't gotten any sort of development to the point that it would justify this sudden change in his character. Technically right, I would just word it differently.
For instance, Light all of a sudden doesn't want to kill Watari. He never actually says why, so I guess we're left to assume that maybe he doesn't want to kill people who haven't done bad things. He says he'd kill anybody who has sex with Mia, though. He says he'll kill L, even though L hasn't done anything evil. So which is it? Also,
well, I mean, I guess the thing with killing anyone who cheats on him, I guess that's something that's motivated a bit differently, but it is weird that like he wants to kill L just for trying to pursue him, but then he wants to leave Watery alive for whatever reason. Don't really explain why he doesn't want to kill Watery.
Why didn't Watari finish what he was saying before he died? What happens is, he starts reading the information that Light brainwashed him into finding, but then he stops, talks to these cops, and dies. He was instructed only to do what he was told, and he didn't even do that much. Did you just write in the death note, Watari finds the information and reads it to Light, but if anyone breaks in and interrupts him, he has to stop in the middle of his sentence and die. So anyway...
Yeah, it's really stupid. We don't get any indication that Light wrote that down. It does just seem like Watery inexplicably like broke control from the Death Note for a brief moment, which we see him do before when he like briefly argues against Light about searching for L's name immediately, saying that he needs a full night's rest first. It's just a thing that doesn't make sense how Watery can inexplicably break from the mind control during a couple scenes.
Bunch of shit happens that isn't important, and then Light learns that Mia has been using the Death Note behind his back, and that she's a super evil, crazy psycho person. But then she also says that she wrote his name down, and that he's gonna have to give her the book, like make her the permanent owner of the Death Note, so that she can burn his page and spare his life, but then she gets to keep the Death Note. Also, her plan doesn't make any sense. You guys said that you need 7 days to pass the book on. It's only been 2 days. I've been keeping track. This shit is so vague. So Light can just give the Death Note to somebody and bypass the 7-day rule? Ryuk has said many times that if Light doesn't want the Death Note anymore, he has to just leave it somewhere for 7 days. You see what I mean?
Yeah, basically what I was gonna say is that I'm not sure if the movie ever establishes that it takes like 7 days to transfer the note. I don't remember that. Even though I've seen it a couple times, maybe I missed that, but I don't think I did. Yeah, but then there's just the fundamental thing of like, she leaves the page in the Death Note with Light's name, meaning that there's nothing stopping him from burning the page, saving his own life, then killing Mia. It's really stupid. I wouldn't point to what you're talking about as the issue.
When I say that this shit feels like it's missing scenes? So anyway, now Light is running to the Ferris wheel so he can meet Mia and they can have their exchange of the Death Note. I'll get to why this is stupid in a moment. But first, we have a stupid-ass chase scene. So L is chasing Light because he's upset that Watari died. L steals a fucking police car, drives around Seattle like a madman, and somehow he finds Light running around downtown. What the fuck? How did he find him? Seattle's pretty fucking big. How did he find him by erratically driving through the streets and screaming like a maniac? L and Light are also explicitly
Yeah, it's really contrived.
going out of their way to wreak havoc during this chase. It is cartoonishly chaotic. You might think, okay, Light is obviously trying to throw things in the way and make it harder for L to pursue him. But there's even a point in the chase where the mess that Light made is the only reason that L gets to follow him. Plus,
I don't know if I'd point that out as like unnecessary havoc and not just his attempt to slow down L going wrong. I mean, it is like convenient, but we don't really see Light cause like unnecessary havoc. It's mostly L knocking things over, pushing a guy's face into soup, while Light is at least trying to like do things that slow L down.
L is creating even more chaos than Light is. So anyway, after the chase scene, Light and Mia meet on the Ferris wheel that they had a date on earlier in the movie. And if this shit wasn't already dumb, it's about to get drop dead stupid. Literally. So when you first watch this scene, you may ask a few questions. Why did they meet at the Ferris wheel? Wouldn't this be a pretty dumb place to get cornered? You have absolutely no escape route. How did she beat him to the Ferris wheel? How did the police know where to find them? Also, why are there like...
No escape route. Would Light need an escape route for this? I mean, doesn't make sense Mia would go along with it, like, despite that just being like a really bad idea. somewhat makes sense for Light, wanting to make sure that he can have a talk with her without them getting interrupted. And well, that's not, there's so many issues connected to that, but just the choice to have it where they can get cornered by the police. You haven't brought up why that's a problem for Light, but I can at least see why it doesn't make sense for Mia to go along with it.
Like 100 cops. The cops were sent to do two things.
This Detective Turner. I want every available unit looking for the individual known as L. He should be considered armed and dangerous, and I want my son put in protective custody until he's located.
1. Apprehend L because he's dangerous and crazy. And 2. Escort Light to safety. Well, the cops found L after the stupid chase scene, so why are there a million of them here at the Ferris wheel? Also, why are they wearing riot gear? Don't worry, the movie apparently has a reason for all this shit. Except for the reason why there are so many fully armed police officers there. There's actually no reason for that.
Yeah, I guess doesn't really explain, like, them being fully armed. What else would you say?
Well, the cops found L after the stupid chase scene, so why are there a million of them here at the Ferris wheel? Also, why are they wearing
Huh, yeah, this doesn't really make sense. Especially since we're supposed to believe that, like, Light is considered innocent and they're not suspicious of him after this event. Still noticing more issues with this movie. Wow. I'll have to take note of that. I don't know how she'd be able to fully understand the situation. So yeah, it's weird that she didn't take an issue with that unless she, like, really trusted him, but I don't know about that.
riot gear? Don't worry, the movie apparently has a reason for all this shit. Except for the reason why there are so many fully armed police officers there. There's actually no reason for that. So Mia is like, fuck you, give me the death note, and she steals it from him. And then we get the reveal that he wrote that she would die if she took the death note from him. Huh? Since when can you queue up a death like that? We're never shown that you can have these conditional deaths before, that if X happens, then this person will die. That wasn't established at all. Okay, whatever. So now...
Yeah, it never establishes this as a rule, so like either we like it is a rule and we never saw it, or Light is just making complete assumptions about how this works regardless of the rules.
They're both fucked and they fall to their deaths and die. Except Light didn't die because he fell in the fucking water. Oh, don't worry. I'm gonna get to it. By the way, L is just at the Ferris wheel also. I'd like to point that out. Remember how he was approached by the police? Remember how they're supposed to keep him away from Light? Yeah, he's just here now. No explanation. So then Light...
Yep. that doesn't make sense either.
Light wakes up in a hospital because apparently he was in a coma. Don't worry. I'm getting to it. And then his dad comes up and he's like, hey, I figured out that you're cured because it's actually really fucking obvious. And then Light reveals his grandmaster plan. And it's the dumbest fucking plan in the whole movie. So let me see if I got all this right. So Light used the death note to make everything, and I mean everything, happen the way it did. So he made it so that the Ferris wheel would get destroyed. That's insane, but whatever, I'll go with it. That's actually the least crazy thing that happens here.
I mean, it breaks a pretty fundamental rule. Like, we're told that, like, deaths have to be physically possible, and apparently, like, a Ferris wheel getting destroyed by magic counts as physically possible. I don't know if that's the least stupid thing, but, yeah.
Then Mia grabs the page with his name on it, throws it in a fire in midair, and then dies herself. He actually wrote this shit down to happen just like that. I am not kidding. So Light can also manipulate what a fucking piece of paper does while describing how someone dies. What if there was no fire nearby? Keep in mind that Ryu...
Yeah, to suddenly make it so he can literally like control the laws of physics, like with like objects, that's really bad. How do I know if a fire pit was there? I mean, I guess he would have been there before, so we'd know if there'd be a fire pit, and it was during the evening, but maybe it's convenient, but I don't know, because like he might have known about it being there. Although it would be nice if the movie established that.
Luke says something has to be physically possible for it to happen. If your plan was to fucking kill her all along, why did you need to make this clause where her death begins when she takes the death note from you? Why didn't you just write her name down right away? Then say that she burns your page before she dies. Then if you don't want her to die, just burn her page after that.
Oh yeah, maybe I could try that. Actually, yeah, it might be like a better plan rather than just like what seems to be a baseless assumption. Maybe.
Need to start this elaborate chase through the city and die on a Ferris wheel. There are so many easier methods than this. So what was the point of all this shit? Oh, it's because he needs a reason to clear his name. Oh, but Light, listen, Light, listen to me. Listen, buddy. I don't know if you know this, but the cops don't think you're Kira. I should also point out that Light...
Yeah, it's a he goes through all this effort, but like that he wasn't even really suspected by anyone other than Elle. Because there are reasons they should suspect him, but since they're stupid, they just ignore them, I guess.
Literally writes down in Mia's description of death that he survives the fall. Okay. That makes no sense. You should not be able to defy the laws of physics in the details of someone else's death. I should also mention one more...
I wouldn't appeal to like you like shouldn't be able to, since that doesn't contradict anything. It's just very contrived that there's this like one rule that can like manipulate the laws of physics and that wasn't set up before.
Time that Ryuk says things have to be physically possible.
There's so many fucking rules.
So Light writes in that some guy who like assaults people or whatever.
With the physically possible thing, I'd more point to the Ferris wheel getting destroyed by Ryuk, how that doesn't line up with it, rather than manipulating the laws of physics, because I guess that technically it doesn't have to do with the death being physically possible, or like, I guess it isn't physically impossible, it's just a contrived rule that wasn't set up.
Would rescue him, put him in a coma for 2 days, while another criminal being controlled by Light grabs the death note and writes names down in it while Light is in a coma. So this is supposed to clear Light's name, since he won't be a suspect if the people are dying while he's in a coma. Now, we established earlier that if a person being controlled by the death note doesn't know something, they can't go do that thing. Watari couldn't tell Light information that he didn't know. So how would this random schmuck go find the death note, something that he doesn't know exists, in the river without knowing where...
Oh, wait, oh my. It actually made me think of something. Like, couldn't Light just tell Watery to tell him his L's name? Because at this point, he must know he can implant information in the heads of people he kills, so surely he could just ask Watery to tell him, like, L's name. I mean, the only excuse I can think of for him not immediately knowing it is that the thing is that he becomes obsessed with finding L's name, but not that he tells L's name. Yeah, he could have done that, and it would line up with what we've seen, and it would resolve the conflict.
Are dying while he's in a coma. Now, we established earlier that if a person being controlled by the death note doesn't know something, they can't go do that thing. Watari couldn't tell Light information that he didn't know. So how would this random schmuck go find the death note, something that he doesn't know exists, in the river without knowing where it was?
I mean, actually, like, the movie does show that, like, you can insert information to the heads of people that don't know it. That's how we got all those people in, like, different countries to write in perfect Japanese. So, I mean, that isn't a contradiction that he knows what this is. It would just make it really convenient that Light wrote Watery's death in a way where he doesn't immediately reveal L's name.
That's not the rules. That's straight up not the rules. You even told me that.
There's so many.
No, you know what? Fuck you. Like I said.
Yeah, this point seems a bit off. If anything, that's one of my problems with the movie is that makes it so like people are like consistently able to like implant information into the heads of victims, when that just makes the Death Note insanely overpowered and makes it so Light had no excuse not to kill L immediately.
Light is not a suspect at all. He doesn't need to do any of this shit to clear his name. Only L thinks he's a suspect and all the cops fucking hate him. Why are you so adamant about clearing?
You also don't point out this makes him like more suspicious. I mean, not only evading the police, but holding that random guy at the amusement park at gunpoint so they could be alone on like a Ferris wheel. Like these are like very suspicious things. Yet apparently Light is completely absolved just because they were deaths that happened while he was in a coma, despite the fact that there's no reason to believe why he wouldn't have like just like planned them before. Oh, okay. All of them have been identified in the last 48 hours. Okay, so that gives more validity of like, they think that Light wouldn't have been able to do it. Okay.
Your name when you're not really in any fucking trouble. There's only one motherfucker chasing you, man. Why was this entire convoluted plan even necessary? And anybody who was on L's task force was killed by Mia. So there's nobody who thinks that Light is Kira. Also, at the end of the
Yeah, like L is the only one. Doesn't really have any like substantive information to go on.
movie, L breaks into Light's house and finds a page from the Death Note, and they tease the fact that he might write Light's name in the Death Note. Hold on a second. Oh boy. Here's the thing. Why would L even think of writing Light's name in the notebook without knowing how it works? How would he know, okay, so this magical piece of paper is how Light has been killing people. The people on the list are dead, sure, but if you went into someone's room and saw this, your mind would not immediately think, this paper is magical, and writing these names down will kill that person. How the fuck did he come up with that?
I actually don't know about that. Like we talked about this during the previous video where for some reason Mother's Basement thought that was a plot hole at one point, but it's not that much of a stretch. Like he knows that Light needs a name and a face to kill someone. He knows that the ability is transferable, that it has something to do with a calculus book, implying that it's like some physical object. Light's name was written down on a piece of paper with this information, but that it burns, and then he's alive after that. Like, he knows all those other things, and he comes across this piece of paper with these names, and even like specifies like some like kill conditions. He has like a decent reason to believe that this is how it works, and even like if he isn't 100% certain, like based on like this crazy emotionally unstable version of L that he's become in the movie's last act, that he would try this at least. See, I don't think that's a problem that he would come to this conclusion or that he would try to do it, besides it just being completely broken from a character it's broken from a character standpoint.
So L has only seen one thing that says that someone's gonna die, and that person isn't dead. So why would he assume that the paper is how people are getting killed? But it's okay, because we never actually see if he does it or not.
I mean, the fact that gets burned, like maybe he thought that that's why that didn't work. Like yeah, he doesn't have all the information, but I don't see why he wouldn't understand like, okay, this might be how it works. I'll try to kill Light. See, I don't think that's an issue.
Because it's left ambiguous. Sweet! But then we get to the part of the movie that made me just bust out laughing. I'm gonna show you guys how this movie actually ends.
You humans are so interesting.
It seems like an accident. It feels like this movie had another part after that, but the editor just forgot to put it in. Even Light's face at the last second is like, wait, are we really gonna cut here? Are you sure you want to end the movie like that?
Yeah, it's really funny. I agree with you on that.
And to top it all off, the credits have behind the scenes footage and bloopers in them. Yeah, I'm not fucking kidding. This pulls you out of a movie so hard. This is acceptable in comedy or family films where the tone is a bit lighter, but in a supernatural mystery thriller, this is not the last impression that you want to leave on your audience.
Yeah, I have no idea who thought this was a good idea. It's so tonally jarring. If you're actually like invested in the movie, I feel like this would just totally take you out of it. Like, oh, leave it with this shocking, ambiguous ending. Now you're seeing like bloopers. Like, what?
Here's the thing. Now you know some of the scenes in this movie are kinda goofy, right? Most of it feels like it's kind of intentionally silly. Now what if the movie was originally supposed to be a black comedy? What if it was fully aware of the silliness and it was just playing it up? That would kind of explain a lot of this stuff. Sometimes it feels like the movie just isn't for real. It's really goofy.
I mean, I do get that like it's so goofy it's hard to believe, but I do get the impression it wasn't intentional. It does feel like this movie wants to be taken seriously to some extent, but then there's these moments that are just so goofy. It's odd.
When Light and Mia fall off the Ferris wheel and that cheesy music starts playing, I started thinking about how genius it would be if this was just a fucked up spoof of a love story. How they're basically psychopathic, horny teenagers. That would actually be an interesting idea for a movie. Cut out Ryuk and just play on the idea of these two manipulating each other, all while saying how much they love each other. A black comedy romance. Oh wait, that movie already exists. It's called Heathers, and it's actually fucking good. So I'm not gonna...
It's kind of an interesting idea, but I also just think that the writing is so bad that I wouldn't trust it unless like if it was done by different people.
say, oh, fans of the series should really watch this movie for a good laugh. No, just go watch Heathers. I don't care, go watch anything else. This movie is just a waste of time. Stop.
I don't know. I found it pretty funny. Like, you even show like a lot of like the unintentionally hilarious scenes. Like, sure, there is like boring stuff, but I found it like very entertaining. Although it is like frustrating when you actually start to think about the writing and just how broken the story is.
Making anime movies. The fact that this movie left itself open for a sequel fucking pisses me off. Don't watch this movie and make the studio think that people actually liked it. Please don't. Because the last thing we need is a sequel to... Oh, fuck. No. No. God damn it.
I mean, we haven't got any like confirmation if they'll actually do anything with that. It's been like almost a decade since this came out. Like all we've heard about is like the Death Note series done by like the Stranger Things guys, but even that I haven't heard anything about in a while. So yeah, I guess fortunately it doesn't seem likely that we'll get a sequel to this movie. Not a great video. It was like a very much a mixed bag in terms of points, but he got some things right. He made me notice a couple things that I didn't consider. Yeah, ultimately it was still better than the Mother's Basement video. I mean, part of it was like he was actually like he acknowledges that the movie is bad while Mother's Basement was trying to like actually justify it being good. Yeah. So yeah, it's not good, but it is better. That was this been like a quicker stream than I expected. I guess even though this is total like almost 50 minutes of video, I guess there just wasn't too much to talk about. Should I do one more video? I'm not sure. Maybe I think, well, I'll do one more video, see how it goes. One of the reasons I want to do this stream, I mean, I guess recently, I don't know, I've sort of had like more interest in like talking about this movie and sort of working on my script about my because I've been working on a video like criticizing this movie, talking about why I think it's really bad. Like, even ignoring, like, the source material, it's sort of just to explain why it's a badly written story. So, yeah, I've been sort of more interested in that, and that video of mine is almost done. Or, like, the script is at least. So, unless there's any, like, big changes I feel like I need to make, that should be done relatively soon. But, yeah, that's sort of one of the reasons I want to, like, check out some videos about this movie.
Netflix's Death Note is a movie no one asked for, and no one wanted to see. It stars people who think they're actors. I watched this movie twice for this video. Sadly, one of those times I was sober. I also roped two of my friends into watching it with me. Sadly, they both committed suicide after the second viewing. Everyone in this movie is a massive moron. For a characters written to be so smart, they make an awfully lot of dumb decisions. To be fair to this movie, we're going to judge it on its own merit. So I'm trying to not compare it to the original anime as much as possible, even though it's pretty hard considering this is an adaptation of it. So let's...
Okay, yeah, good. I feel like so much of the discussion is about like how bad of an adaptation it is when I just think it's a really bad movie.
Let's get those issues out of the way right up front. Everyone cast in this movie is awful, except for Willem Dafoe. Nat Wolff, yes.
Everyone is awful. I guess Watery was okay. I mean, yeah, I guess the movie doesn't have too much like really good performances. Like, Light and Elle are kind of just hilarious in like the worst ways. Mia's actor has some bad line delivery. Not as I guess there's some funny moments, but not as much as the other two. So yeah, like there's not a lot of like good acting. I guess I'd also say I thought James's actor thought he was alright. It's like decently convincing as this character, and he also happens to play like probably the best character in the movie just because he doesn't make like really stupid decisions or like not as many as the other characters. He isn't good. There's just like less wrong with him than the others.
The Nat Wolff that played in the Naked Brothers band plays Light Yagami, or Light Turner as they like to call him in this movie. They make it very apparent that he is Light Turner because every time someone refers to him, they refer to him as Light Turner.
Light Turner.
Light Turner.
Light Turner's Light Turner.
Light Turner's not.
Or in any scene where his name is written, it's Light Turner in big bold letters to remind you that this isn't that weeaboo shit. This is that hardcore, Oscar-worthy American stuff. This is Mia, Light's girlfriend. She looks uncomfortable in every scene she's in. She has no character traits other than being a cunt. This movie is also visually hideous, barring about
I guess there's some character traits of her being like selfish and maybe wanting power or just really wanting to kill people. I don't know. She's like a very underbaked character, but at least there's like some things there, even if they're like very surface level.
3 scenes where they had some interesting camera angles. Man, for a place on the West Coast, you'd think the rain would be really useful for all those forest fires.
I mean, I know that this is a joke, but like Washington and California have like pretty different weather. Like just being on the coast, that doesn't mean like they would be like too similar. Like I know this is just a joke. It doesn't really mean anything, but yeah, that just I'd say that.
The first 30 minutes feels like it's made by a pretentious film student. Everything is in Dutch angle. To establish that Light is a genius, they show him complete half of somebody's Chapter 8 algebra quiz for $5. How this person expects to
Oh yeah, I didn't even finish the homework. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that was just a goof. That's kind of funny.
turn it in after taking it outside of the classroom is beyond me. Just like any other poorly made movie that takes place in a high school, teachers are only around when convenient for the plot. Like the fact that there's no gym teachers or coaches around during a football practice, so the main love interest is free to smoke as much as she wants on the field. Light is
Oh yeah, that is pretty weird. I mean, I guess that alone, it doesn't have like much of a bearing on the plot, but it is strange.
a bona fide white knight, so the fact that a kid's getting bullied is important to him, but as soon as a girl gets shoved by an asshole, he immediately runs over and starts screaming at the top of his lungs. That'll sure make him wet. He then acts like a pretentious know-it-all, calling out all of the bullies' insecurities and flaws, like the true white knight that he is, and proceeds to get punched in the face. Like I said earlier, now that it's convenient for the plot, the teacher shows up, but instead of actually caring that a kid is unconscious on the ground, they only care about the papers that fell out of his bag. Hey,
Okay, actually that is a better point. Like, yeah, it's I guess her conveniently showing up, but more so the fact that she doesn't even care to check on this student who's like injured and lying on the ground. At first checks, oh, what are these papers next to him? That's a bit weird.
wait a second, if all of them were drawn on with pen and they're all ruined like this in the rain, wouldn't all the ink be smeared? To show that Light lives in an unfair society,
Yeah, like that yeah, does make much sense. Good thing it didn't get smeared. Well, I guess him going to detention has like such little bearing on the plot, even when like the room gets messed up, it doesn't have any like repercussions. Like, I guess I'd argue that all of this is convenience, but that doesn't matter that much in the long run, other than giving some like very clunky exposition and gives like a introduction for the Death Note. Although like it wasn't like that necessary to serving that purpose. Like it could have been done without the detention room.
He is reprimanded for cheating on the tests, and they completely gloss over the fact that he was beaten up. You could really tell if this is a work of fiction by the fact that these teachers don't care that a white boy has been punched in the face. Don't worry though, he only got 2 weeks of detention, you know, instead of being...
I mean, they were told that, like, from, like, Mia, that they saw him walking into a beam. I guess maybe that's just the excuse, that they just took what she says at face value without really bothering to look into it.
Possibly suspended or expelled or what have you. This movie also has no idea how to do transitions, so every time it needs to get from one scene to another, something will walk in front of the camera and wipe to the next one. They also don't really seem to care that he sleeps during his detention. They briefly mention that I'll add a day if he falls asleep, even though he already was, so why didn't they just say, you get another day? After this,
I mean, maybe it was just meant to be a warning? I don't know. I hate to say it, some of this does feel a bit nitpicky, like, this is a terrible movie. I don't feel like you need to focus on things like this to talk about why it's bad. Even the things you mentioned that are, like, right, like, a lot of them aren't very consequential in, like, the greater plot, other than the thing of trying to make Light seem smart.
teacher magically disappears because she's no longer needed for the plot. Also, for convenience, to set up the fact that Ryuk likes apples, Light has one on his desk. Because instead of writing Ryuk with any discernible character traits in this other than being an asshole who laughs a lot and is barely in the movie actually, they're just going to use something that was in the anime. He then proceeds to read out rules that are only important right now for the plot because the movie expects the people who are watching this to be complete morons. Apparently in Light's high school, the history room and the science room double over. If they wanted to have all this shit fly around for Ryuk's introduction, why not just have it as a science room instead of having presidential pictures and stuff on the wall? Maybe this is because they hired really bad set designers. I don't see how the movie is supposed to have us take this character seriously as our main character and be cool and badass because that's how they frame him after this. Since the CG
I don't know if they frame him as cool and badass. I mean, maybe at the end? The senior shows him more confident, but I don't really get the impression he's supposed to be, like, badass. Like, it makes it harder to take him seriously, the screaming, but I don't...
for Ryuk is so awful, Ryuk is actually almost never in focus, even when he's the subject of a shot. It's really sad when you have to ignore basic filming techniques to master.
I don't remember the CGI being that bad. I mean, it looked fine for the most part, although it is weird that, like, he's out of focus for a lot of it.
How terrible your character looks. At this point, you might as well just put Willem Dafoe in makeup. He almost looks like Ryuk as it is. To further solidify that this is a work of fiction, a white girl is getting bullied outside of school and no one is doing anything about it. Do you think the Death Note has spell check? What would happen if...
I mean, we don't see anyone nearby, I guess? Like, we see people on, like, the street, like, at a distance, but no one, like, right next to them? Yeah, like, there isn't really anyone too close to them and, like, not any students, so I don't know about that one.
Light spelled decapitation wrong. Now I'm going to play the death scene of the bully alongside a clip from Final Destination, and you have to choose which one is which. If you picked the scene on the right, then you're wrong, because that's from Final Destination. At some points in the movie, I started speculating that maybe this was originally a Final Destination film, and they were like, well, no one's gonna see these anymore, so let's slap Death Note on it and give it to Netflix. The kids will love it. Everyone must be so busy with the bully's decapitation that Light was able to just leave this room a fucking mess, and no repercussions happened to him. I guess I gotta give the movie some props, and the blood...
Okay, yeah, that's another thing that doesn't make sense. Like, nothing comes from, like, the detention room being left a mess, despite the fact that he was supposedly left there alone. It would be the obvious thing to blame him for that, but apparently just doesn't come up again. It's also weird.
Looked okay, and the effect of the kid's head rolling looked fine. It's really unfortunate they used this one scene to mass market the movie. Every trailer was this specific scene, and that's it. It's almost like this is the only interesting thing to happen in it. To further exemplify that Light comes from a broken home and has a shitty life, he lives right next to a train track. Also, his mother's dead. Somehow, they have UK-based barbecue sauce for dinner. Next, they're gonna show Light eating a Kinder Egg. Hopefully he fucking chokes on it, the little shit.
Is that only a thing in the UK? I don't know. Like, even if that originates in, like, the UK, I feel like I have seen that in, like, American grocery stores. I don't... Once again, this does feel more like nitpicky. There's like a lot of issues you can point out, but like a lot of them have been like, okay, that doesn't make sense, but it doesn't really matter. Which is what I would go to for like what a nitpick means, and not like what some people think that a nitpick is just being wrong.
For no conceivable notion, Light decides to share what his book does and all of the powers it has with this random girl. They decide to change the fact that if you touched the book, you'd...
I mean, I think the reason we get is I want to impress her. I don't think it's like a good reason that like he would do that, especially when he's meant to be smart. We've shown signs of like wanting to like hide things or like prevent himself from getting exposed. Like I wouldn't say it's no reason, it's just the reason we get is dumb.
Be able to see Ryuk. This will come into play later, so just keep this in mind.
The fact that Light is the kind of guy who would use Alienware just kind of, you know, makes him entirely unfuckable already.
Not only is Light a white knight, he's also a keyboard crusader, and he demonstrates this to her by whipping out his Alienware laptop.
I really don't like the inconsistent lighting in this scene. It just doesn't feel right. It feels like there's like a bindery between them, or like it's green screened. It's not though, but the color intensities just are too variable.
It actually means light in Russian and Celtic.
Well, wouldn't you be worried that they could just trace it back to you then?
No, could they? It also sort of means killer in Japanese.
Did you know, in Irish, one of the last Celtic languages, Kira, spelled like this, actually translates to dark. It also doesn't translate to light at all in Russian. So good job with that one, guys. You really did it there. This comes off to me.
Yeah, from what I know, this is just completely incorrect. I don't know where they got these translations, but yeah, it seems like a lot of people picked up but that this didn't make any sense.
They're really embarrassed to claim that this is of Japanese origin, so they claim this translates into other things as well to mask the fact that it is. God forbid we look like weeaboos.
That wouldn't be my criticism, it's just that it's really stupid that he would make his secret alias something that's a translation of his own name. Like that's just like the opposite of what you should do. You should try and make something that at the very least can't instantly be tied to your own name.
How come no one's wearing gloves here? The only person wearing gloves in this scene is the cameraman, and he's the one who needs to be wearing gloves the least. With L being a
yeah, that's true.
Genius and all, you think he'd know proper procedure for crime scenes. To show the audience that L is an eccentric weirdo, he eats nothing but candy. He also says he's been awake for over 41 hours. Wait a second, I've seen those glasses before. Enhance! Apparently also in Light School, people still pass notes. You know, instead of using their cell phones like everyone else does. Maybe this is such an old tactic the teacher won't even notice, like...
And even at this time, I don't feel like it was that on... People still, like, pass notes. Like, I guess maybe it's, like, less common rather than, like, texting. But, once again, it just doesn't really matter.
The fact that she looks directly at the paper and does nothing about it right here.
But I believe you...
Yeah, that is weird. I guess maybe she doesn't care, but I guess that is strange. It also doesn't really matter.
Have something they do not. What's that? An in-depth understanding of potential suspects.
Why would I have a better understanding?
The FBI...
L states that Light's alcoholic father is the best person to be working on the case with him. For the first and only time, Max Payne uses his brain and goes, well, why would you choose me over anybody else? But L quickly sweeps this under the rug because he has no reason to base this opinion on.
...was drug-related, but lost in the ensuing crush.
Now I think of it, that's been pointed out, it isn't really explained why his immediate choice was to work with James, despite we don't get any indication that he knows much about him. Like, he didn't know that James was alone on wanting to find and bring Kira to justice until he told him after L made the agreement for them to help each other. Really convenient, or just we don't get a reason for why L wanted to team up with James.
Was the fact that Brody's toxicology had come back clean.
So you're going to base your theory that Kira is in Seattle on the fact that his tox screen came back negative? He held his family up with a machine gun and then saluted in the middle of the street. You don't think, maybe he could have just been crazy. I don't know. He could have just had a mental illness.
How did you mess that up? Like, For one thing, it wasn't just toxicology report coming back clean. And that is like suspicious. He was going for like, he was holding people hostage. He had a gun. He was very like angry and loud. But then he just suddenly stops, lets them go, stands in the middle of the road, does a salute. That is a very bizarre thing to show, like just like completely different from how he was acting. Problem is that Elle's assumption about Kira being in Seattle is the idea that this was only shown on local Seattle stations, but we know that this isn't true since Light saw it on a random live stream. So he's just like completely wrong about this, yet is the basis of his argument that Kira is in Seattle.
Nope, this was the work of Kira. I think these scenes are here to build tension, but all I'm getting out of this is that Wolf can't make a single different face, because every single scene he looks the same. Luckily, Light has the wind on his side.
I don't know if I'd agree all scenes look the same. I just don't find him very like, I don't know how to describe him other than goofy. Like, I don't find as like very convincing as this character.
Which informs him that he's being followed, so his disguise is putting on sunglasses.
Light would actually like it if she fucked someone else.
Wait, was that meant to be the disguise thing? I assume that was just something they got at the amusement park. They decide to have a talk in like the Ferris wheel, like I guess so they're alone? I don't think the glasses have to do with it.
His side, which informs him that he's being followed, so his disguise is putting on sunglasses.
Light would actually like it if she fucked someone else. He looks like a fucking cuck.
I feel
like, you know what? Actually, if you go back and look at the face that he made when she asked that, he got really excited.
Why would they suddenly be looking at these people? They're just walking into a building. There's nothing special about them.
I guess they shoved like that one guy, but yeah, it isn't that. Or no, they were looking like before they shoved the one guy, so that's okay. Yeah, it looks like they're kind of just walking as a group. People are just looking at them weirdly. Shoves like one guy, but it seems like people were already looking before that. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it is strange. I'll admit that.
Bitch killed them all. You? There's so many rules in that thing. There must be some kind of loophole or something.
This doesn't sound incriminating or suspicious at all. You're just running through the hallways like this. It would actually make sense for people.
Yeah, this is like one of their dumbest moments, just saying all this incriminating information out loud in a crowded hallway.
To turn and look at them while they're running through the halls yelling, unlike when the kid and her mother decided to turn and look at the people who were just walking into a building. In Light's infinite wisdom, he discerns that Ryuk is the one behind killing the cops, even though in every scene we've seen of him, for the few times he's actually in the movie, he seems completely ambivalent and doesn't actually care about using the book at all. He just wants to see how the humans use it. He even tells him earlier if he doesn't want.
I guess I get why Light wouldn't just trust him or assume that. This wouldn't be my problem with the scene. It's that he's just completely oblivious to Mia being the one who did this, despite her like suspiciously like leaving one night after going up to his room where the death note is, shortly after they had a disagreement about how it should be used, and then she says like maybe you should consider if this was the best course of action. Like make it like so obvious that like she's the one who did it, even though she doesn't outright say it, yet Light is just completely oblivious. That's the issue rather than just him assuming that Ryuk did it.
To have anything to do with the book, just leave it somewhere, let someone find it, and then 7 days later you will no longer be the owner. Apparently, there's no red lights going on in Light's head by the fact that Misa wants to kill his father, and then tries to guilt trip him by bringing up his mother in a completely unrelated conversation. You might want to be careful, Elle, if you
he does get angry and tell her to get out. The problem is he forgives her super quickly when she apologizes, saying she was scared.
Stay up for multiple days and eat nothing but candy, you're gonna end up looking like this. After Light has his argument with Misa, he decides to go to a local cafe, where he reads a book he found with art of Ryuk from the Endo period. Why he has this book and how he found it isn't important to us though, just to show us that Ryuk has been around forever.
I do not kill, Light. I don't even carry a gun. It's distracting.
Now keep this line in mind for later. He states that he doesn't carry a gun and doesn't want to kill anybody. He thinks guns are distracting. They seem to not care anymore that they're also in a crowded cafe. They even had a wide shot showing there's other people there. Yes, let me just spout that I am Elle, the famous detective, and you're Kira. That's definitely not going to rouse panic or anything.
guess. Like, it would not be a good idea to just do this in a public place, maybe? But so many more issues, just like Elle's decision to confront him directly, outright accuse him, be like blatant about how you barely have anything on him. Just like, he handles it so poorly, like, the fact that they do this in public would be like the least of my issues.
Fucking cheerleader, Light. Nothing I do has ever mattered.
That line doesn't even make any sense. What does her being a cheerleader mean nothing she's ever done mattered? Is this supposed to be some sort of commentary on the fact that cheerleaders are all about their...
I guess that's the thing. She thinks that's insignificant. Yeah, Mia is so like underbaked as a character. Like, this doesn't give much to work with.
Nothing I do has ever mattered.
That line doesn't even make any sense. What does her being a cheerleader mean nothing she's ever done mattered? Is this supposed to be some sort of commentary on the fact that cheerleaders are all about their appearances and nothing else, and only people care about is that? Even though she hasn't shown any sort of personality up until now other than wanting to just kill people and being a massive cunt. Maybe if you set her...
I don't know about it being commentary, but that's just, she feel like her life didn't matter up until now? Or like meeting Light and like learning about the Death Note, I guess? She doesn't have like a well-defined character.
Up to have any sort of personality or character traits or motivation up until now. These scenes wouldn't have been just out of complete left field. Remember, ladies, if you want to manipulate your limp dick spineless boy toy, just tell them you love them. They fall for that shit every time. He only wrote Watari in the book. Doesn't he have to have his full name? At that point, you've already seen L's face. Just write L. And if that...
Yep.
That's for some reason not enough, why not just write Watari shoots L and then shoots himself? Ryuk becomes...
Yep, also correct. I got a lot wrong, but yeah, I got these like very agreeable plot holes right.
Light actually reads a rule in the book.
Only one name can be removed from the Death Note by burning it. Get this one wrong, you won't get another chance.
Ryuk tells him that you can only burn one name. This implies that this part of the rule isn't in the book. Well, why wouldn't it be? This seems like important information. Why bother to even have rules to begin with if you're not going to tell them the full effect? Ace Detective Max Payne along with Bonnie and Clyde somehow...
Wait, what?
Well, why burning it? Get this one wrong, you won't get another chance.
Ryuk tells him that you can only burn...
I guess he's just reminding him of this rule, which I guess is a bit forced exposition, but I guess part of it is kind of like almost antagonistic towards Light or like messing with him. So I don't know if that's that much of a problem.
One name. This implies that this part of the rule isn't in the book. Well, why wouldn't it be? This seems like important information. Why bother to even have rules to begin with if you're not going to tell them the full effect? Ace Detective Max Payne along with Bonnie and Clyde somehow didn't notice that L came into their house until he reached their table. It's good to know the Turner residence is probably the easiest house to rob in all of Seattle.
Yeah, that's just really bizarre directing. Like, he was like right in front of them, and they apparently just like didn't see him until he's literally at their table.
The almighty omnipotent L somehow missed the fact that Miso was sitting in on that whole conversation just in the stairwell after he told her to leave. Also, the police light's only shining through after the fact that L mentions that they're outside. This is so boring.
You really...
This looks like a scene for like a terrible horror film. I'm just waiting for the bleh monster stretch face. You know the ones I'm talking about, right?
I didn't enjoy this while I was drunk. What makes you think I would enjoy it sober? Oh look, candy, jelly beans that have survived for countless years.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. Those definitely wouldn't have rotted. Like what?
Yeah, that's another weird thing, I guess.
Obsessed with revealing the true identity of... Yes, it's here.
What does it say that it is?
El's true name.
What does it say that it is? What is El's real name?
Sir, answer me! Are you Watari?
I am Watari.
Sorry.
He was just obsessed about revealing L's name 2 seconds ago. Now why is he just suddenly, oh, I don't care anymore because plot convenience so I can get shot and not reveal it to Light. Only...
I don't know, I just say that's a plot hole. Like, never get any indication that like disregard the commands they're given by the Death Note, but it just inexplicably does so. It prevents Light from killing L, even though there's other ways in which he could have killed L.
Now does Light put it all together and somehow didn't notice that she already ripped out one page, even though you can clearly see that they've already written on the page previously. Wouldn't you notice going, huh, there seems to be a tear right here, that's odd. Now she's put Light in the book. Oh no! And unless she becomes the official keeper of it, she's not gonna burn his page. Even though it takes 7 days, Ryuk said. What about that? What happened to that plot point?
Just put the note somewhere, leave it alone for 7 days, and I'll find it a new home.
Oh, so he did say 7 days, okay. I don't remember his Mother's Basement or Cosmonaut, but one of them mentioned the 7-day rule, and I just completely forgot about that. The most charitable thing I could think of is that leaving it for Ryuk to take it to someone else or like directly giving it to someone works differently. But that would be really convenient. It isn't explained. So yeah, it's just weird.
Because his heart's gonna stop at midnight, so he's just gonna hand her the book, then she's not technically the official keeper. He could as easily take it back. Since L's actor is terrible, they decided to mute the screaming scene to save him some sort of embarrassment. They can't take the embarrassment of being in this movie away, though. What happened to not using guns, L?
I almost wondered if that was so the movie didn't have to address what L was told about Watery to inform that he's dead, because they're seemingly like brainwashed or compelled by the Death Note to kill him. So there's implications of like, what were they thinking? Their minds were seemingly taken over, or did they have a reason to kill Watery? Like, what do they say about this? But then the movie just doesn't tell us, just that L learns that Watery is dead.
Also, isn't that Decker's gun from Blade Runner? Light frantically runs.
Oh yeah, it does kind of look like Deckard's gun. And I made a joke about gun looking like straight out of Blade Runner, but yeah, it does look like weirdly similar to Deckard's gun. But why does L even have a functioning firearm that looks like this? It's such a weird. That's something that isn't consequential, but it's just strange.
To the computer lab where he goes to Reddit to look up pedophiles, to write his super convoluted scheme in the notebook that will later reveal to make no sense at all. Even though L has done nothing but eat candy and not sleep all the time, he suddenly becomes an action hero, jumping over cars and doing flips and shit like this, knocking a random man's face into his soup bowl because L is a fucking asshole.
Yeah, that was unnecessary, and it is strange that they just have like infinite stamina, that they can engage in this long chase without getting like exhausted.
It was also mighty convenient that this construction site was still open, that Light was able to run through it. While the convenience
I don't know if that's convenient. Especially since, like, the construction site itself, it isn't as... They kind of just run through it, then, like, it's only the apartment and the restaurant. There's, like, some stuff of trying to slow down L, but then L still catches up. Like, it's only there to, like, I guess some sort of things that, like, change the dynamic of the chase happen. I don't know if, like, why them going in a construction yard is convenient.
Mighty convenient that this construction site was still open, that Light was able to run through it. While the conveniences are running rampant.
I mean, couldn't you run through it if it wasn't open? I don't see why this is convenient. It's just a place where they go through that happened to be a construction site.
The deli man that comes out in the back to throw out the garbage just happens to be a Kira worshiper and hits L over the head with a 2x4 going, Lord Kira.
Okay, that's actually just a massive contrivance. Yeah, that's a valid criticism, and I'm not sure what the construction site was.
Why is Light just running around with the gun in his fucking hand? Holster it, put it in your pocket, put it in your ass. Are you trying to incite more panic? What would have happened if you shooting the box just stopped the Ferris wheel altogether? Then your plan is completely ruined.
I didn't think of that, actually. That is convenient.
From the top of the Ferris wheel, but the worst thing that happened to her was getting a nosebleed. Good thing she wasn't like the guy who jumped off the building who exploded into a million giblets, but don't worry, he didn't matter because he was a B character and we didn't have to pan a close-up of him.
James Brody wasn't the first victim. It was Anthony Scoma.
Except Anthony Scoma wasn't the first victim. It was the bully, Kenny whatever. His dad is such a shit detective, fucking hell. Okay, now that
Well, I guess to be fair, he doesn't know if Light has as strong of a connection, but that at least, like, he might think, like, Kenny might have had something to do with it.
Light has completely explained his stupid plan, we're going to break it down why this is awful. So first off, he writes down in the notebook that Mia is going to take the book away from him. But then he told her if he could convince her to not take the book, he would just burn her page. But that doesn't solve anything because you can only burn one name. So at the end, he would still die. Even ignoring the fact that the book has magical powers
Wait,
that
what?
will absolutely take the book, he would just burn her page. Down why this is awful. So first off, he writes down in the notebook that Mia is going to take the book away from him. But then he told her if he could convince her to not take the book, he would just burn her page. But that doesn't solve anything because you can only burn one name. So at the end, he would still die.
It almost implies that there's like either like conditional deaths or like just assume that this is the case. Well, no, I guess no, I think no, that's like a different issue. Like it's more like the sudden introduction of like conditional deaths that may or may not actually be a rule, and if not, it's just bizarre that Light assumed this would be the case. So yeah, I should know. I think about that more. Yeah, I don't think I agree with that criticism.
Fact that the book has magical powers that are absolute. So if he wrote to tell her to take the book, there's no way he's going to be able to convince her not to. Unless it's going to be another one of those things where they tell the book to do one thing and they start doing it and then they stop doing it and then the book doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, like this whole thing with conditional deaths, it just comes out of nowhere. And we don't even know if it's a rule or not, or just him being stupid.
Unless it's going to be another one of those things where they tell the book to do one thing and they start doing it and then they stop doing it and then the book doesn't matter anymore. Kind of like when Watari couldn't stop caring about finding L's name and then suddenly stopped caring so he gets shot without revealing it to Light. And then he has Ryuk use his magic force powers to break the Ferris wheel, where then she falls onto a bed of flowers and magically the page that has his name written in it, she accidentally rips out and then it falls conveniently into a barrel fire that just happens to be at a fair. Then he's going to have a
I guess it's night, and maybe it's because it's cold. I don't think it being at the fair is a problem. It doesn't really explain why this problem, so I don't know.
Registered sex offender pick up the book on the shore and then use it for the next 2 days and then return it to him after killing himself. But it shows in this scene that he's a sex offender and he's at a playground. You know, if you're a registered sex offender, you're not allowed to be legally near a fucking playground or a school or a park, or you could go to jail. No one thought of that one, did
No, I guess they didn't really think about that.
they? While Light is revealing all this to his idiot father, who found out he was Kira because he saw a newspaper clipping of his mother's killer in his room. Elle breaks into Mia's house, finds her calculus book, which still has the page of the death note, and then it cuts off right as he's about to write Light's name, leaving it open for a second movie, or being a cliffhanger, because they decided, well, no one's gonna fucking like this piece of shit, and there's no way we're gonna ever make another one of this. By the end of the movie, I definitely figured out why I dislike Ryuk's look in this movie. It is because his face moves too much. It's too articulated. It kind of reminds me of US release Kirby games, where Kirby is made to look more mean and aggressive, but in the original Japanese versions, he's happy. Ryuk in the anime and in the manga, his face doesn't really move a lot. The only thing that really does articulate is his mouth. The rest is pretty much frozen, and I feel like that would have been a lot more effective in making him creepier if they did it like this for the movie, but instead they try to make him seem more villainous and like an asshole. Say we live in...
And I guess, yeah, that sort of gives off a different impression of him. I don't know if that's necessarily a problem, unless it's like, that does kind of seem like an adaptation argument, rather than it doesn't make sense for this story or this movie.
A magical world where Death Note just happens to not exist, and this is the first ever piece of Death Note media ever. This movie fails on its own merits. It is nonsensical. All the characters are stupid and unlikable, even though they're built up to be geniuses. The dialogue is awful and cringe-inducing, where lines just come out of nowhere making no sense. Characters change motivations at the drop of a hat, along with seeming to be on the same page with each other, even though having no reference to know what's going on. But at the end of the day, if I had to choose between getting a sequel to this,
Almost all of that is right. You haven't done a great job at backing it up.
Or not, I definitely would say I wanted one, just to see the train wreck that comes. Hopefully if they do decide to make a second one, it doesn't just drag on for the middle half of the movie until the last 30 minutes where it completely falls apart.
I almost would be curious to see a sequel, just see like how much worse can it get. Okay, that was surprisingly bad. Yeah, I think that's like even worse than the Gaiden video. Cause like, there's like some things he got right, but there was also like a good amount of inaccuracies and just a lot of nitpicks, like things that like, okay, maybe that's wrong or doesn't make sense, but doesn't have much of a bearing on the plot, and he focuses more on those than like a lot of the major plot issues. This is a terrible movie. It's not that hard to like talk about why it sucks. But yeah, I guess I think that's it for tonight. Got through more videos than I was expecting. I guess these just didn't have as much to talk about. I guess it's like my videos about SAO or Yakuza. Although I guess there could be a part of that is just am doing it solo instead, but yeah. I think that's the last video for tonight. I'm not sure what I'll do a stream on next. Probably more stuff about Yakuza. Like, I have a lot of videos, like, that I want to respond to and would prefer to do them live rather than doing a whole scripted response thing. But I don't know when I'm planning to do that next. I'll have to think about it. And yeah, I don't know if I'm that interested doing more live action Death Note videos. Like, there's some I haven't checked out yet, but I'll probably just do them privately, or like offline. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Thank you to everyone for watching this, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye.